In 744 CE, a single bolt of silk weighing exactly zero point 0.3 kilograms was exported from Chang'an, the capital city of Tang Dynasty China. The air reeked of incense and cooking oil wafting through the bustling streets of Chang'an's merchant district. A young apprentice named Lei stood outside his master's workshop, hands grasping a wooden spindle as he watched merchants haggle over exotic goods. The sun beat down on the cobblestone path beneath their feet. What if this bolt of silk was destined for the emperor himself? Would it be woven into a luxurious cloak or used to adorn the imperial palace? If you're listening to this to fall asleep, that's exactly why I make these. Drop a comment and tell me where you are and what time it is. I read every single one. As Li walked back to his master's workshop, he passed by the Grand Canal, its tranquil waters reflecting the vibrant colors of the city's architecture. The sound of gongs echoed through the air, signaling the approach of nightfall in this ancient metropolis. The scent of fermented rice wafts through the air, carried on the gentle morning breeze that stirs the reeds outside your window. The smell is familiar and comforting, a reminder that it's time to start another day in this small merchant's household. You're lying on a narrow bed, surrounded by intricately carved wooden screens that filter the dim light of dawn into soft patterns on the walls. Your body feels heavy with sleep, weighed down by the warmth and comfort of your bedding. As you stretch, the worn silk beneath you creaks softly, releasing a faint scent of old dust and wood polish. The bed is situated in a small alcove off to one side of the room, giving you a narrow view out into the courtyard beyond. The windows are slanted at an angle, allowing sunlight to enter during the day but keeping it largely blocked by the morning's shadows. You can see a few wisps of steam rising from the kitchen area below, where your mother is already stirring in the embers for breakfast. As you sit up and swing your legs over the side of the bed, you notice that the wooden floorboards creak beneath your feet in a rhythmic pattern, first one board, then another, creating an irregular heartbeat of sound. The house seems to be waking up around you, slowly stirring from its slumber as the morning light creeps into view. Your mother's voice calls out from below, a soft, gentle murmur that carries up through the open windows and filters into your room like mist. You recognize her tone. It means breakfast is almost ready, but she needs help getting everything prepared for another busy day on the Silk Road. She's been working with merchants since before you were born, trading tea leaves from Anhui province in exchange for spices from India. You yawn and rub at your eyes, feeling a bit stiff from sleeping too close to the wall last night. The wooden frame of the bed has left its imprint on your shoulder blades, an ache that's familiar but still slightly uncomfortable as you move around. Your mother must have added extra blankets over the winter months, because it feels like she's been piling them high ever since. The sound of clinking wood and sizzling meat drifts up from below, carrying with it a mouth-watering aroma that makes your stomach growl in anticipation. You can smell the onions and garlic being sautéed with fresh vegetables. Last night's leftovers are probably going to be reworked into something new for breakfast. You swing your legs over the side of the bed again, planting both feet firmly on the creaky floorboards this time around. The cold air rising up from beneath makes you feel a slight chill in your toes, but it's nothing too out of the ordinary, just another reminder that spring is still more than a month away. Your mother calls up once more, her voice growing slightly louder as she repeats herself. Come down and help with breakfast, child. We have to get moving soon. The way she uses child makes you feel old enough to be useful around the house. It's a title that implies responsibility rather than youth. You slip your feet into worn leather sandals at the side of the bed and head downstairs. The wooden stairs groan beneath your weight, releasing a faint scent of aged wood as they creak in protest. It's going to take some effort today, you can tell already. There are goods to be sorted, packed, and shipped out before nightfall. The kitchen is warm with the scent of cooking food, a place where steam rises from every direction like morning mist over wet fields. Your mother stands by the stove, stirring a large pot of millet porridge that's slowly thickening as it cooks. The air around her is filled with tiny wisps of smoke. She must have added some kindling to get the fire going earlier. You spot your younger brother sitting at the low table near the window, trying to eat his breakfast without getting any of the sticky rice all over himself. He's still a bit clumsy in the mornings, especially when it comes to eating with chopsticks. The way he struggles only makes you chuckle slightly as you watch him struggle. Your mother hands you a steaming bowl filled with yesterday's leftover stir-fry mixed into this morning's new batch of rice. The flavors have melded together perfectly overnight, and for an instant, everything feels right in your world: food on the table, household routines being followed, another day unfolding like clockwork before it begins. As you take a seat across from your brother, the wooden stool beneath you creaks softly, releasing its own faint scent of worn wood polish into the air. For now, at least, all seems right with the world, and for that brief moment, nothing else matters beyond this small kitchen, the people in it, or what's on today's menu. You take a bite of your breakfast, savoring the complex flavors as they dance across your tongue. It's just another morning meal on the Silk Road, but sometimes those are the most memorable ones, like now, when everything feels warm and comforting beneath the slowly rising sun outside. As you finish your breakfast, a gentle breeze stirs the awning above the food stall, casting dappled shadows across the vibrant tapestry spread out on the adjacent merchant stand. The colors and patterns dance in time with the hum of conversation from passers-by, creating an ever-changing mosaic that speaks to the diversity of this ancient trade route. You take another sip of your tea, feeling the warmth spread through your chest as you contemplate the day ahead. Your thoughts are interrupted by a soft knock on the doorframe behind you. Your apprentice, Ling, stands with a measured calm in her eyes, her dark hair pulled back into a neat bun that accentuates her high cheekbones. Master, she says softly, the horses need tending to before we set out. You nod in acknowledgement and rise from your seat, the wooden floor creaking beneath your feet as you gesture for Ling to lead the way. The air is filled with the scent of fresh hay and leather as you make your way through the narrow alleys that wind between the merchants' quarters. Your own wares are scattered about the stall: bolts of fine silk, intricately woven baskets, and a collection of gemstones polished by skilled artisans to reveal their hidden depths. You arrive at the small stable tucked behind the main building, where two sturdy horses stand saddled and ready for departure. The sun is higher now, casting long shadows across the courtyard as you begin the morning ritual of checking each horse's hooves, bridle, and tack. Ling stands by your side, her hands moving with practiced ease to adjust the straps on one of the packs. As you work, a gruff voice calls out from behind a stack of crates nearby. Wei, the merchant, is a wizened old man named Zhang, who's been trading goods along this stretch of the Silk Road for nigh on 30 years. He ambles over to where you're working, his eyes squinting against the bright morning light. "You heading out soon?" he asks, taking in the scene before him with a practiced gaze. "Got a good load. I'm thinking about adding some spices to my shipment. Heard there's a new batch from Samarkand that'll make your head spin." You exchange pleasantries and discuss trade routes, news of distant lands, and rumors of market fluctuations. These conversations are the lifeblood of merchants like yourself, where information flows as freely as goods do along this ancient network. After finishing with the horses, you lead them out into a small clearing at the edge of the complex, where the exercise is almost therapeutic in its simplicity, watching your animals stretch and move beneath the sun's warm rays. Ling stands nearby, monitoring their every step while simultaneously keeping an eye on any potential threats from passers-by. As you finish up, Zhang reappears with a small pouch slung over his shoulder, producing a handful of dried apricots for himself and offering some to you as well. "For the road," he says with a smile that creases the lines around his eyes. You accept gratefully, feeling the rough texture of the fruit against your skin before unwrapping it and taking a bite. The sweetness explodes in your mouth, leaving behind a memory of distant orchards where these same trees once bloomed beneath sun-kissed skies. The simple pleasures like this morning's meal or an exchange with Zhang over apricots remind you why the Silk Road has endured for so long. It isn't just about moving goods from one place to another. It's also a conduit for stories, ideas, and human connections that bridge cultures across vast expanses. The sun continues its steady climb above the rooftops as you mount your horse and settle into position. Ling leads off on foot with a pack animal carrying supplies, while you bring up the rear alongside Zhang. The familiar rhythm of hooves pounding against stone takes hold, an unspoken language that speaks directly to those who have spent countless days traversing this storied path. Your thoughts are already ahead, however, anticipating what wonders or challenges lie around each bend in the road. This is life on the Silk Road, never quite knowing where you'll end up next, but always carrying a piece of distant lands within yourself, like the taste of those dried apricots that will stay with you for days to come. As you ride into the rising day, memories both old and new swirl in your mind's eye. The city gates draw near on the horizon. Their intricate carvings are almost within reach now, a testament to craftsmanship passed down through generations. The journey ahead holds as many stories as there are threads in that vibrant tapestry by Zhang Stall, each one waiting to be woven into the grand narrative of your own experience along this serpentine road to adventure. With every step, you're reminded that even on the most ordinary days, anything can become extraordinary if only you pay attention. The scent of fermented soybeans wafts through the air, carried on the gentle breeze that stirs the lanterns hanging from eaves and balconies. You breathe it in deeply, feeling the familiar tang tickle your nostrils as you step out into the evening. In the narrow streets of Chang'an's eastern quarter, people are already settling in for the night. The sound of wooden shutters closing echoes through the alleys, a reminder that dinner is long over and the day's work is done. You weave between pedestrians, dodging baskets of fresh vegetables and bundles of firewood as you make your way to the kitchen. Inside, the air is thick with the smell of cooking oil and steaming rice. Your mother stirs a wok on the central hearth, the sizzling meat and vegetables releasing a savory aroma that makes your stomach growl with hunger. You take a seat at the low table, running your hand over the worn wooden surface as you wait for dinner to be served. Your father comes in just then, his face tired but his eyes still sparkling with amusement as he surveys the spread before him. "Ah, Zaya Ozing," he says, spotting the steaming bowl of noodles on the edge of the table. "Looks like someone's been waiting for you." You nod, smiling up at your father as he hands out bowls and chopsticks to each family member. The meal is a familiar one: stir-fried greens, braised pork belly, and steamed buns served with a side of pickled vegetables. But the flavors are always new and exciting. As you eat, the conversation turns to the recent news from the palace. Emperor Ruizong's favorite dish has been poisoned. It seems that someone in the Imperial kitchens has taken it upon themselves to improve the Emperor's culinary experience by substituting his usual ingredients with a carefully crafted blend of toxins. The family is abuzz with speculation: who could have done such a thing, and what exactly was their motive? Your father shakes his head, chuckling dryly as he sets down his chopsticks. "Well, I suppose it's not every day you get to poison the Emperor." You snort in agreement, rolling your eyes good-naturedly at your father's wry humor. As a member of the Imperial family's personal bodyguard, he's had his fair share of close calls and palace intrigue, but even he can't help but laugh at the absurdity of it all. The news has already spread through Chang'an like wildfire, with rumors and theories flying as fast as the city's resident gossip mongers can peddle them. You hear snippets of conversation from nearby households, where families are gathered around low tables, sharing what little they know about the palace scandal. As you finish your meal and begin to clear the table, you catch a whiff of something not quite unpleasant, but definitely out of place among the familiar scents of cooking oil and steaming rice. You follow the smell back to the hearth, where a small cauldron is simmering away on one side. Your mother notices your interest and nods towards the cauldron. "Ah, yes, I'm trying something new," she says, stirring the contents with a long wooden spoon. "A special blend of herbs my aunt brought back from her trip to the countryside." You lean in closer, intrigued by the pungent aroma wafting up from the cauldron's surface. The scent is not quite familiar, not like anything you've smelled before in Chang'an. You watch as your mother adds a pinch of something white and powdery, stirring it into the simmering mixture. "What's that?" you ask, pointing towards the powder with a raised eyebrow. Your father sets down his bowl, wiping his mouth on a piece of cloth as he ambles over to examine the cauldron. "Oh, I think I recognize that," he says, nodding thoughtfully. "That looks like it might be dragon's breath." You raise an eyebrow, recalling stories your mother told you about this mysterious spice. According to legend, dragon's breath has medicinal properties, but it also comes with a reputation for being rather volatile. As the evening wears on and the meal is cleared away, you find yourself lost in thought, pondering the mystery of the poisoned emperor's favorite dish and the possible connections between that case and your mother's unusual cauldron. The city outside seems quieter now. Perhaps everyone else has retired to their homes for the night, leaving only you to wander the darkening streets. The sounds of Chang'an at twilight are always a little eerie. Crickets chirping in alleys, dogs barking fitfully from behind walls, and the distant clanging of metal on stone as vendors pack up their wares. You wrap your arms around yourself, feeling the cool breeze carry away the last wisps of dinner's warmth. As you step back into the night air, the sounds blend together in a soothing symphony, until suddenly from just down the alleyway comes the unmistakable clang of metal on stone. Someone is arguing with one of the city watch. The sound carries through the stillness like a warning bell, leaving your heart beating slightly faster as you wonder what's unfolding. You pause for a moment, weighing whether to go see what all the fuss is about or slip quietly back into the night, but something holds you in place. It might be nothing more than another tale of palace intrigue and petty squabbles among the city's elite. Yet that spark within you refuses to let go, nudging you forward with curiosity. The watchman's voice rises above the rest, an authoritative bellow echoing off walls as he attempts to restore order in the alleyway. As you make your way towards the commotion, you notice how shadows stretch and twist across buildings, creating eerie silhouettes that seem almost alive. You push open a slightly ajar door, slipping into the narrow alley just as the watchman finishes his warning. The group of people involved looks up at once, some curious onlookers from nearby households, one worried-looking young woman clutching her basket of vegetables to her chest, and an elderly man who seems utterly nonplussed. "What's all this?" you ask, falling into step beside a curious bystander as the watchman explains what's been happening. The elderly man chimes in with his own theory, that maybe it has something to do with the new shipment of spices from Sichuan province. You listen for a while longer before excusing yourself and disappearing back into the night. The streets seem darker now, though not because there are fewer lanterns or people about. It's more like you're suddenly noticing every little detail that was previously invisible, like how each house has its own peculiar scent, shaped by what ingredients were used in cooking dinner this evening. You breathe it all in deeply, letting the rich aromas of Chang'an envelop you once again. The sound of night-blooming flowers carries on the breeze as you continue your stroll through the city's winding streets, passing under awnings that cast intricate shadows across walls and taking in every last detail, until at length, after one more turn down a narrow alleyway lined with food stalls, the silence swallows everything whole. As you stand there frozen in the sudden stillness, a faint scent wafts through the air, sweet and pungent, like incense on a summer's day. It carries with it the promise of exotic spices and far-off lands, transporting you to a realm where merchants from distant shores converge to trade their wares. The silence is palpable, broken only by the soft murmur of vendors huddled in whispered conversations. They glance around cautiously, as if fearful of being overheard by unseen ears. Their eyes dart towards a figure standing at the far end of the alleyway, an imposing presence clad in finery that shimmers like moonlight on dark silk. A faint tremble runs through the air as servants scurry to clear away stalls and hastily gather their goods, leaving behind only scraps of colorful fabric and discarded trinkets. The vendors themselves melt into the shadows, disappearing like ghosts at dawn's break. Only one stall remains, its proprietor refusing to budge despite the sudden stillness. A young woman with skin as smooth as alabaster stands resolute, her eyes flashing with defiance in the dim light of the alleyway. She holds aloft a delicate ceramic container filled with an assortment of steaming delicacies, some spiced, others fragrant with herbs. Her face set in determination, she presents it to the figure standing at the end of the lane. This is none other than Emperor Xuanzong himself, his eyes gleaming like polished jade as he surveys the stall's offerings. He has been known to indulge in exotic flavors from across the empire, and this young woman, known only by her surname Lin, claims to have created a dish worthy of his imperial palate. As if sensing your presence, you feel the ground tremble beneath your feet once more, though it is not an earthquake that causes it. The Emperor's gaze sweeps towards you, and for a moment time stands still, as if all life has been suspended in this single instant. Then, with a flick of his wrist, he dismisses Lin from his thoughts, focusing instead on the steaming container before her. He takes up a delicate porcelain spoon and samples one of the dishes within. The flavors dance upon his lips for an eternity, each note playing its part in a symphony of delight that leaves him entranced. You watch as his eyes light with appreciation. This is more than mere sustenance. Its artistry transformed into edible splendor. His attention turns to Lin once again, and you sense the stirrings of intrigue beneath his measured words. A fine selection, young one, he says, but what magic lies behind these flavors? I must admit that I am particularly fond of this dish with the spicy kick. The nuances are exquisite. Lin's face flushes a deep crimson as she bows her head in gratitude. Her voice barely above a whisper, she replies, "Your Majesty is too kind." It's merely a combination of spices from various regions across our great empire, carefully balanced to create a symphony that awakens even the senses most jaded. The Emperor nods thoughtfully, his eyes never leaving hers as he contemplates her words. The air seems heavy with anticipation now. What will be the outcome of this culinary dance between Lin and His Majesty? As you continue your observations from behind the shadows, a faint unease begins to creep into the atmosphere. Servants hurry by, exchanging nervous glances over their shoulders, while other onlookers edge away in search of less hazardous vantage points. A hidden hand seems at play here, manipulating events with unseen strings. What could be brewing beneath this carefully crafted facade? The scent of old parchment and stale incense wafts through the narrow corridors of the Imperial Palace's eastern wing, carrying with it whispers from centuries past. You are among the shadows that dance on the walls as you climb a worn stone staircase, your footsteps echoing off the cold granite beneath your feet. The air is heavy with dust, which you can taste when you breathe deeply, a flavor both bitter and familiar. Every few steps, the sound of your footfalls pauses, and for an instant, silence reigns. At the top of this stairway lies a small attic space that has been converted into a makeshift library. The room is dimly lit by narrow slits in the walls, allowing only faint glimpses of daylight to penetrate. Shelves made from reclaimed wood stretch almost to the vaulted ceiling, laden with scrolls and books bound in worn leather. You push aside cobwebs clinging to your face as you navigate through the stacks. Fingers trailing along the spines of texts, searching for a particular title that has been etched into memory, one that reads, "The Forgotten Hymns of the Silk Road." It is said to contain melodies from distant lands and civilizations now lost to time. A faint scent of sandalwood oil clings to your fingertips as you part the pages of an old manuscript. The script within is a testament to patience and dedication, countless hours spent by hand, tracing intricate patterns that tell stories yet unknown. On some pages, ink has faded into wisps of purple or turned brown with age. On others, vibrant colors remain vivid enough for the eye to detect. Your hands move over the worn cover, feeling the softness of a fabric long since lost its luster, perhaps once silk, now more akin to felted wool. It's as if time has seeped into every fiber. The weight of forgotten knowledge presses upon your shoulders. It is heavy with responsibility but gentle in remembrance. In this quiet space, where only the faintest whispers echo through walls and dust motes dance around shafts of dim light, there are moments when history seems to pause, not because great deeds were done here or empires rose from these very stones, but simply because amidst the silence, a fragment of memory remains suspended. The pages beneath your fingers grow increasingly worn. It's as if each touch awakens memories slumbering within them. An image flits through mind's eye. You see merchants crossing deserts under starry skies, chanting monks on mist-shrouded mountainsides, or a lone traveler sitting by the flickering light of an oil lamp in some forgotten corner, poring over texts to decipher their hidden meaning. Hours pass like grains dropping from an hourglass. The silence deepens, and shadows stretch across walls as daylight bleeds away. Night's presence starts seeping into this attic space, not through windows or doors, but by the gradual darkening of all things within its realm. Books that once seemed radiant now appear dim. Dusty corners absorb what faint light there is. The flicker of a candle in the corner casts eerie shadows on walls as night wears down resistance and claims the space for itself. With darkness comes an air both peaceful and unsettling. It carries secrets unspoken but leaves them within reach nonetheless. It's as if the very fabric of history has grown translucent here, allowing glimpses into realms previously unknown or forgotten. Your hands rest upon a worn cover now dark with age, fingers tracing patterns once meant to convey meaning yet seem almost whimsical in their gentle curves and lines, a testament to artistry seeking expression beyond language. In this quiet darkness, the world seems vast and mysterious, one that holds countless secrets within its labyrinthine heart. And so you sit here surrounded by shadows, lost among memories that refuse to be fully grasped, your thoughts carried away on whispers from forgotten hymns as night gathers around you like a cloak slowly being wrapped about an ancient figure long asleep. As you sit amidst this eerie stillness, your gaze drifts towards the faint luminescence emanating from a lantern suspended above the attic's wooden beams. Its gentle glow casts an otherworldly ambience, like moonlight filtering through a lattice of ancient stones. The flickering light dances across the dusty relics scattered throughout the room. Forgotten scrolls, broken vases, and weathered instruments with silken strings that seem to whisper secrets in the silence. Your fingers involuntarily wander towards one such relic, an intricately carved zither with its wooden body polished by time into a warm sheen. Memories long buried begin to surface as your hands touch the instrument's smooth curves, like tracing forgotten pathways through a familiar yet long-abandoned garden. The air is heavy with scents of aged wood polish and sandalwood incense that wafts from an unlit censer in the corner. In this dimly lit sanctuary, you feel disconnected from the bustling streets below, the laughter of children playing under the shade of willow trees, the clang of hammering on metal as artisans craft ornate lanterns for the night markets. The world outside recedes into a distant hum, allowing your thoughts to wander through forgotten alleys and hidden courtyards. A sudden gust stirs the dust motes dancing in the lantern's light, and you feel an inexplicable urge to rise from your seat. Your footsteps creak on the wooden floorboards as you approach a shelf lined with yellowed scrolls tied with faded silk ribbons. Among them lies a worn leather-bound book, adorned with intricate characters that shimmer like dew-kissed petals in the lantern's light. Your fingers, now familiar with the contours of this forgotten world, gently untie the ribbon holding the scroll to the zither at your side. As you unfurl it, the parchment crackles softly, releasing a hint of aged paper and ink into the air. The characters etched on its surface seem to leap out from their background, an invitation to secrets whispered by ancient winds. The words dance before your eyes like fireflies flitting about lanterns during a summer solstice celebration. When moonlight caresses the jade emperor's throne and silken threads weave together in harmony. You feel an unshakable connection to this forgotten hymn, as if its language is meant for you alone. Tears well up within your eyes, carried away by memories that defy recall. In a moment of raw emotion, you let go and allow the melody, woven from those words, to guide you into the realm of remembrance. The room dissolves around you. Shadows coalesce into shapes from long-lost nights, faces aglow with candlelight, music swirling through crowded courtyards on autumn evenings. In this ephemeral world, time loses all meaning. Your heart swells like a blooming flower in springtime as the hymn pours forth, each note intertwining with memories to form an ever-unfolding tapestry of experience and emotion. Tears fall upon your hands clasped together, creating ripples on the wooden floorboards like tiny rivers breaking free from parched summer landscapes. And then all too soon it ends, this journey through realms both remembered and lost. The final notes fade into silence as if night itself has claimed them back, leaving only an unsettling stillness in its wake. Your breaths come in ragged gasps, like a traveler emerging from the vast expanse of desert sand after days without respite. Your gaze now focuses on a small wooden box sitting atop a nearby trunk, one adorned with patterns and symbols that seem to echo those etched into the forgotten hymn scroll beside you. The room's shadows grow longer as night deepens, but for an instant, your heart believes it holds within its confines not only the memories of forgotten evenings, but also perhaps even more secrets waiting patiently beneath its lid. The silence around you grows heavier still, a palpable presence bearing down upon you like the weight of ancient history. And in this hush, where shadows writhe about like living darkness and moonlight barely dares to creep through dusty lattice windows, you begin your search for answers hidden within the heart of that small wooden box. As you step into the attic, the air grows thick with the scent of aged paper and forgotten memories. The wooden box lies open before you, its contents spilling out onto a delicate silk cloth that has yellowed with age. Dust motes dance in the faint moonlight that filters through the lattice windows, casting an ethereal glow over the scattered relics. Your fingers brush against a small ivory comb, its teeth worn smooth by generations of use. Next to it lies a beautifully crafted jade pendant, its intricate patterns shimmering like the night sky. But your eyes are drawn to a sheet of parchment folded into thirds, tied with a faded silk thread. The paper itself seems almost translucent, as if infused with the whispers of the past. You carefully untie the thread and unfold the parchment, revealing handwritten characters in a script you don't recognize. A shiver runs down your spine as you sense the weight of history within these lines, etched by a long-forgotten hand. The words seem to hold secrets, whispers of forgotten lives lived out in this very palace. You turn to leave, but your foot catches on a loose board, sending a faint creaking echo through the attic's silence. Suddenly, you're aware that you're not alone. A presence stirs behind you, like the rustling of silken robes or the quiet thud of footsteps. The air vibrates with an almost imperceptible tremor. You spin around to face. Nothing. Yet your skin prickles as if the gaze of unseen eyes settles upon you. For a moment, time freezes. Only the flickering shadows cast by the moonlight seem alive, twisting and writhing about like dark serpents. Then, with an almost imperceptible sigh, the tension dissipates. You approach a nearby trunk adorned with intricate carvings of Imperial dragons. The lid is slightly ajar, revealing a tumble of silk robes, intricately patterned with symbols of good fortune. Beneath these lies a stack of yellowed scrolls tied with crimson thread. Your fingers brush against the soft fabric as you lift one of the scrolls from its slumber. Unfurling it, you discover that this is no simple relic but an imperial decree issued by your ancestor, Emperor Gaozong himself. The characters dance across the parchment in elegant script, proclaiming a grand festival to honor the harvest moon and invoking blessings upon the Tang Dynasty. Alongside these lines lies a musical notation for a forgotten hymn. Intrigued, you place the scroll on a nearby stool, examining it with greater care. As your eyes drink in the intricate patterns of notes and rests, memories begin to stir within you, echoes of long-forgotten melodies that haunt the corridors of this ancient palace like phantoms from another era. You take up a nearby lute, its instrument case bearing an insignia with the Imperial seal. Your fingers move across the strings as if guided by some unseen force, coaxing forth notes from the depths of memory itself. The hymn takes shape, haunting and poignant, full of longing for the passing seasons. In this moment, time dissolves, past, present, and future blend into a timeless tapestry. The attic grows quieter still, yet in this silence you sense an unfolding drama. Forgotten lives lived out within these walls begin to whisper their stories, urging you onward toward discoveries hidden deep beneath the dusty latticework of centuries-gone memories. With each note that escapes your fingers on the lute's strings, a piece of yourself echoes back through time, becoming lost in ancient silences even as it stirs anew within this moment. Your reverie is shattered by the creaking floorboards outside. Footsteps approach with deliberate slowness, like an imperial procession marching toward some distant destiny. You straighten your shoulders and smooth out the scroll on the stool before you, ready to face whatever mystery or revelation steps into view from behind that partially open door. Your heart beats in anticipation of what lies ahead. Threads of past and present weave together within this moment as shadows writhe, dancing like dark life force about a lantern's fading flame. The dust settles around your ankles like a gentle blanket, carrying with it the scent of damp earth and wood smoke from last night's fires. You can feel the weight of another day in Tang Dynasty China bearing down upon you as you step into the crowded streets of Chang'an. You're standing near the city gate, surrounded by merchants hawking their wares to passers-by. The air is thick with the smell of spices and incense wafting from nearby stalls. A peddler holds up a jar for your inspection, his calloused hand grasping it tightly as he touts its contents. Finest sesame oil from Sichuan. Worth every coin, his eyes gleam with pride as you hesitate to make a purchase. The sun beats down upon the cobblestones, warming them to a golden glow that stretches toward your feet. You feel the gentle heat radiating up through your soles, comforting and reassuring after last night's chilly darkness. A group of children nearby chase each other in circles around an elderly street performer who juggles three brightly colored balls while singing an old folk tune. As you watch them dance and play, a young woman sidles up beside you, her dark hair tied back with a simple strip of cloth. She holds out a small clay container filled to the brim with delicate silver noodles. Try some, traveler. I'll let it go for 2 copper coins. Her smile is warm and inviting as she hands over the snack. You take the noodles from her, feeling their smooth surface beneath your fingers before taking a bite. The flavors explode on your tongue: sweet rice wine, fermented bean paste, and sesame oil mingling together in perfect harmony. It's a taste so familiar it feels like coming home after a long journey. The woman leans against you as she speaks, her voice low and soothing. Those noodles are made by my cousin. He's been experimenting with new recipes from the provinces. She glances down at your hands as they move to take another bite of the snack, noticing something on your palm that catches her eye: a faint smudge of ink. A tiny spark of curiosity ignites within you. It might be nothing, but in this moment, anything feels possible. You feel a flutter in your chest, like the whispered promise of an adventure waiting just beyond the horizon. A young man nearby stirs something in a clay pot suspended over the flame from his cooking stall. The aroma wafts toward you on wisps of steam. The vendor notices your interest and comes over to join the conversation. Ah, you're interested in trying some of my famous noodles. I'll give them to you for 3 copper coins, just like that. He hands over a steaming hot bowl filled with thick wheat strands, garnished with sliced green onions. You take the bowl from him, feeling its weight and balance as he places it into your waiting arms. The aroma is pungent, rich pork broth mingling with sesame oil and spices to create something greater than the sum of its parts. A sigh escapes you as you lift the spoon for a taste. This time there's no need to look around or wonder who might be watching. The flavors explode on your tongue in perfect harmony. Sweet soy sauce balancing out sour chilies while rich pork broth provides depth and warmth. It feels almost familiar, like something from another life that has somehow been rekindled here among the streets of Chang'an. Time seems suspended as you let this moment linger, letting go of yesterday's worries and embracing whatever tomorrow may bring. In the distance, a low rumble starts to build, an earthquake's warning tremors spreading through the earth beneath your feet. You feel it rather than hearing it, like the gentle undulations on a lake after a passing breeze has stilled its surface. Your heart beats in anticipation of what lies ahead as you glance up at the rooftops swaying gently above. A moment later, the ground gives way beneath your feet. The earth shudders and trembles around you. People nearby cry out in alarm, stumbling to regain their balance on uneven cobblestones or clinging tightly to each other for support. Amidst this chaos, something lies half buried at street level, a ceramic jar buried deep within last night's debris. It catches your eye because of the peculiar way it seems to be intact amidst all else around you. Perhaps it was placed there by someone hoping to save it from destruction. A faint glint shows on its surface as it rocks back and forth in the earthquake's grip, an unbroken reflection dancing like a tiny moon within. A wave of curiosity washes over you, carrying with it questions about what might be inside: oil for lamps, spices for cooking, medicine for treating ailments. The uncertainty is tantalizing. Could there possibly be something more extraordinary hidden away in this jar? The earthquake finally begins to subside as the earth's tremors weaken and fade into stillness. When they do, you're left standing amidst the ruins of yesterday, rubble-strewn streets that stretch toward distant city gates, like a map of countless possibilities waiting to be explored. As people nearby start to clear away debris, your gaze remains fixed on that jar half buried in the dust at street level. It stands as an enigma waiting for you to unravel its secrets. For now, though, let's pause here amidst this ruined landscape and breathe deeply, letting the dust settle within our lungs before we continue onward into unknown territories. A breeze stirs up nearby, carrying with it whispers of forgotten songs from a far-off land, memories long buried beneath layers of time that only come to life when stirred by chance or curiosity. The world is vast, yet in these fleeting moments anything feels possible, the beauty of uncertainty unfolding like petals on an unopened flower. Time stands still as you bend down to pick up the jar from its resting place amidst last night's rubble. It fits comfortably within your palms, smooth ceramic surfaces worn by years of carrying loads that now feel almost weightless in comparison. Your fingers close around it, and a gentle pressure seems to emanate outward, spreading warmth through your hands like an unseen breeze on a summer morning. Let this moment linger for just a little longer, savoring the sensation within these ceramic walls as you lift them up toward the fading light of day. Who knows what wonders might be hidden away inside? Perhaps something ancient and valuable, lost to time but now rediscovered amidst the chaos of an earthquake's aftermath. For all its intricacies, this jar stands before us, an enigma waiting for exploration. Every detail a window into lives lived long ago or yet to come. Amidst life's unpredictable rhythms and endless possibilities, perhaps we too can uncover hidden treasures within ourselves if only we take the time to pause, breathe deeply, and let our fingers rest gently upon the surface of the unknown. The dust settles around you once more, though this time it feels like a soft blanket carrying with it memories yet to be made. Your hands still hold that jar tightly as the world slowly begins to awaken from its earthquake-induced slumber, the morning light now creeping over distant rooftops and casting long shadows across rubble-strewn streets. Time itself seems suspended in midair, giving you ample space to ponder what lies ahead, what mysteries might be hidden away within this ancient vessel. As you stand amidst the stillness, your gaze drifts towards a nearby street vendor, who is huddled over his wares as if trying to will them into existence. His stall is but one among many that line the cobblestone streets of this ancient city, each one pulsing with the promise of exotic goods and whispered secrets. The air is heavy with the scent of incense, spices, and something else, a tangy aroma that hints at the presence of something rare. Your eyes follow the vendor's outstretched hand as he carefully arranges an assortment of silken fabrics, intricately patterned tapestries, and lustrous ceramics. Each item seems to be imbued with its own unique essence, like they're trying to communicate some hidden truth to passers-by. The vendor catches your eye, a hint of curiosity sparking within his gaze as he raises an eyebrow in silent inquiry. You turn away from the vendor's stall, allowing yourself to become lost in the labyrinthine streets. Every step feels deliberate, weighed by the knowledge that time itself seems to be at a standstill, yet you sense that this fragile balance is about to give way to chaos. The weight of history bears down upon you as you navigate through alleys lined with forgotten shrines and crumbling temples. Your path leads you towards a secluded courtyard where an elderly scholar sits cross-legged on the stone floor. He's surrounded by books bound in worn leather covers, their pages yellowed with age. His eyes are closed as if communing with the whispers of ancient wisdom, his wispy beard trembling ever so slightly as he breathes. As you approach, a faint glimmer catches your attention, an object nestled within a glass jar at the scholar's side. The container seems to be emitting a soft pulsation, like the gentle beating of a heart. You feel drawn towards it with an inexplicable sense of urgency. Time itself appears to be slowing its pace in anticipation of some momentous event. You hesitate for a fraction of a second before gently reaching out and lifting the lid off the jar. A sweet fragrance wafts forth, carrying with it whispers of distant lands, scents that evoke memories you've never experienced but somehow feel deeply connected to. The object within begins to stir, its surface shifting like molten lava as if awakening from an ancient slumber. The scholar opens his eyes, locking gazes with yours as a hint of recognition flickers across his face. He raises a hand in slow motion, cautioning you not to touch the object further. You sense that he's aware of something critical about this artifact, something tied to the mysterious disturbance that shook the city just hours ago. Suddenly, a cacophony erupts outside the courtyard as people begin rushing through the streets with an air of panic. The scholar stands up quickly, his eyes scanning the surrounding rooftops before turning towards you once more. His voice is laced with concern when he speaks. "You shouldn't have opened it." You feel your mind racing to comprehend what's unfolding around you, trying to grasp the significance behind this momentous discovery and its connection to the earthquake that has left the city reeling. The scholar glances at his worn books, as if searching for a passage or some forgotten wisdom hidden within their yellowed pages. His gaze settles on one particular volume with an intricate cover pattern of golden silk threads, an image depicting scenes from ancient mythologies intertwined with cryptic symbols and mysterious artifacts. This, he says softly, is the text known to us as the Book of Echoes. It speaks of events yet to come. With a trembling hand, he opens the book, revealing pages filled with handwritten passages that shimmer like moonlit water. Each line seems to whisper secrets into your mind, stories from distant lands where cataclysmic earthquakes are an omen for future calamities. A shiver runs down your spine as you grasp the weight of what's being revealed. This artifact within the jar is a harbinger of impending disaster, and its release has awakened forces beyond human understanding. The faint scent of sandalwood wafts through the air, carrying with it the whispers of a bygone era. You breathe deeply, feeling the familiar smell settle into your lungs like a gentle reminder of home. As you sit in the quiet corner of the record keeper's office, surrounded by shelves upon shelves of dusty tomes and worn leather satchels, you begin to feel the weight of the task at hand. The soft scratch of quills on parchment is the only sound that breaks the stillness, a gentle accompaniment to your own heartbeat. Your gaze falls upon the notebook in front of you, an unassuming tome with 27 blank pages waiting to be filled. It's not the most exciting artifact, but one that speaks volumes about the meticulous record-keeping practices of this era. The soft binding creaks as you run a finger over its worn cover, feeling the gentle give beneath your touch. Li Jai, the record keeper himself, stands beside you, his eyes fixed intently on some invisible point beyond the shelves lining the room. His fingers drum against the leg of a nearby stool in slow, deliberate beats, a habit he's developed over years spent poring over dusty scrolls and faded manuscripts. The sound is calming, like the gentle lapping of waves against a sandy shore. You turn your attention back to the notebook, running your thumb along its spine as you try to imagine what tales it might hold within its pages. Would they be stories of battles fought and won, of trade routes navigated and exotic goods bartered for? Or perhaps they would contain something far more mundane, a record of daily routines, of meals eaten and chores completed. Li Jai clears his throat, breaking the spell that has settled over you both. The notes will begin with the arrival of spring, he says, voice low and measured as always. You nod in understanding, feeling a tiny thrill at being entrusted with this sacred task. Spring's arrival marks not only the renewal of life, but also the beginning of a new cycle within the record keeper's office, one that demands meticulous attention to detail and an unyielding commitment to accuracy. Li Jai hands you a worn leather satchel, its contents clinking softly as he does so. The first entry should include a record of this year's millet harvest, he says, his eyes clouding over for a moment before clearing once more. You take the satchel from him and lift it up, feeling the weight settle comfortably into your arms. Inside are several scraps of parchment, each bearing a few hasty scribbled lines in Li Jai's own hand. The ink has begun to blade through the worn vellum, leaving behind an uneven pattern that catches the dim light filtering through the windows. The air in the room seems heavy with anticipation as you begin to flip through the pages, taking care not to tear any of them. Some are marked with small red symbols, a shorthand system Li Jai has developed over years spent transcribing ancient texts into modern script. Others feature simple sketches, a representation of this year's spring rains, an outline of the nearby hills where wild garlic is said to grow. You pause, running your finger along a page that seems slightly out of place among its neighbors. It bears no markings, just a faint smudge from Li Jai's own hand as he worked on it late one evening. A simple phrase catches your eye, a new batch of ink arrived today. The thought sends you to the back of the room, where shelves are stacked high with jars and pots containing an assortment of writing tools. You pick up a small vial filled with the very same ink used by Li Jai, its contents swirling like dark liquid silk within their confines. You recall walking through market stalls nearby, watching vendors peddle all manner of goods to passers-by, bundles of fresh herbs, strings of dried fish, brightly colored bolts of silk fabric. The smell of ink has an unmistakable quality, a mixture of cedarwood and earth that speaks directly to your sense memory. Your hand reaches for the vial once more, hesitating as you recall Li Zhai's words about accuracy and attention to detail. You smooth out the page with your fingers instead, feeling the faint texture of parchment beneath them like sandpaper on dry skin. The record keeper's office grows quiet around you, even the scratching quills seem to slow in pace, as if waiting for some silent signal from Li Zhai himself. The sun casts long shadows across the room now, painting its occupants with a warm orange glow that seems both comforting and oppressive at once. Your eyes return to the notebook's blank pages, each one calling out silently like empty vessels waiting to be filled with stories yet untold, stories of trade caravans traversing desert sands, of artisans crafting delicate porcelain figurines, or perhaps tales of chance encounters between merchants from different lands. As I sat amidst the dusty shelves, my fingers tracing the worn leather binding, a sudden breeze rustled through the pages, releasing whispers from yesteryear's tales. The air was heavy with the scent of aged paper and forgotten knowledge, transporting me to an era long past. My eyes wandered along the notebook's spine, where intricate calligraphy danced in gold ink, the signature of Liu Heng, a revered record keeper who once poured his heart into these blank pages. Legend had it that Liu Heng spent years compiling tales from merchants, travelers, and local lorekeepers to create an epic chronicle. His work was said to be a testament to the Silk Road's boundless stories, a world where cultures blended like the subtle hues of an autumn sunset on the vast expanses of Chinese silk. The 27 blank pages seemed almost mocking now, taunting me with their emptiness as if daring me to fill them with my own tales. I settled into the silence, allowing myself to become enveloped by the notebook's history. The soft glow from a nearby candelabra cast an ethereal light on the room, illuminating wisps of smoke rising from incense sticks placed at each corner. Outside, night had descended upon the bustling city, wrapping its velvety darkness around the crowded markets and winding alleys. Merchants were closing up their stalls for the evening, while street performers began to weave an enchanting tapestry of sound, a symphony that transported listeners through time and space. Somewhere in this labyrinthine metropolis, vendors whispered about exotic spices from India. Traders boasted of golden treasures unearthed in Central Asia's ancient cities, and storytellers wove tales of mythical creatures born from the swirling mists that shrouded the mountains. The record keeper's notebook seemed an integral part of this vibrant tapestry. It held within its worn covers a microcosm of the Silk Road, a gateway to secrets hidden behind layers of silk, spices, and exotic sounds. Liu Heng's legacy awaited only one thing: stories. Stories that danced in merchants' eyes as they traded wares under starry skies, tales woven from silken threads by artisans crafting intricate figurines for royalty, or whispers shared around campfires between travelers who crossed paths on the unforgiving desert sands. My fingers settled onto a blank page, hesitating at first before surrendering to an unseen force, a gentle tug guiding my hand across the paper. The nib of my brush glided effortlessly as I began to weave words into this empty canvas. At first, they were mere whispers, flickers of light tracing the curves of merchants' faces, echoes of camel bells carrying messages through desert night air. But with each stroke, something shifted within me, a subtle change that allowed the stories to flow more freely. Silk Road tales unfolded like petal-fresh flowers on a sunny morning. A merchant named Wang Qian described his journey from Xi'an's imperial courts to Samarkand's glittering bazaars. Artisans shared their craftsmanship in exquisite porcelain figurines inspired by mythical dragons and phoenixes, while an elderly scholar recounted epic sagas of China's golden age, tales that danced with the celestial harmonies governing the cosmos. Hours slipped away like falling sand between fingers, lost within this swirling vortex. My hand moved without conscious thought as stories poured forth from some deep wellspring within me. I felt myself becoming one with Liu Heng's legacy, a conduit through which ancient wisdom and timeless tales flowed anew, carrying whispers of forgotten lore to hungry hearts. Sunrise broke over the horizon before I knew it, casting a rosy glow across the room. As light danced across the pages, filling them with colors of dawn, my brush finally stilled on a final, satisfying stroke. A tale now stood among the blank pages, waiting for its own chapter in this ongoing epic, an echo from yesteryear's stories resonating through time like the soft chime of wind-kissed bells. I closed the notebook gently, releasing the record keeper's legacy into my care. For a moment, I remained suspended between past and present, where silken threads connecting civilizations whispered tales of their own history waiting to be set free. The scent of sandalwood wafts through the air, carried on the gentle breeze that stirs the reeds by the Yangtze River. You breathe in deeply, feeling the fragrance fill your lungs as you stand at the edge of a small market stall, surrounded by the soft murmur of merchants hawking their wares and the occasional clang of metal on stone. The sun beats down upon your back, warming the worn leather of your shoes and causing the threads of your silk robes to shimmer in the light. You shade your eyes with a hand, gazing out at the endless expanse of stalls stretching into the distance, rows upon rows of vendors selling everything from intricately crafted jade carvings to delicate silken fabrics. As you wander through the crowds, the scent of sandalwood grows stronger, mingling with the earthy aroma of damp soil and the sweet tang of ripening fruit. You pause beside a stall piled high with pyramids of oranges, their peels glistening in the sunlight as they catch your eye, and for a moment, you forget about the weight of your pack slung over one shoulder. The vendor's eyes flick towards yours, his expression a mixture of curiosity and wariness as he regards you. "Welcome, traveler," he says finally, his voice low and smooth as silk. "You look like someone with an eye for quality goods, perhaps something to alleviate the wear on your back." He nods at the pack slung over one shoulder, where bundles of cloth and packets of food are tied together in a neat bundle. You smile wryly, feeling the familiar ache in your shoulders that has become all too familiar as you've traveled along the Silk Road, from Xi'an to Luoyang, from Chang'an to Sichuan. As you chat with the vendor, the sound of merchants hawking their wares begins to recede into the background, replaced by the gentle hum of conversation and the soft clinking of pots and pans. You purchase a small packet of dried fruit, apples, apricots, and plums, along with a few strips of cured meat wrapped in oil-soaked paper. As you take your leave, the vendor presses a small pouch into your hand, its contents rattling softly against your palm. "For the road ahead," he says quietly, his eyes flicking towards the guards standing at the edge of the market, their faces stern and unyielding as they watch over the crowd with an air of quiet vigilance. You take the pouch without question, feeling a small weight settle into your palm as you tie it shut with a strip of cord. The vendor's parting words echo through your mind like a soft murmur, Be careful on your journey, there are those who would seek to silence voices that speak out against the emperor. The scent of sandalwood lingers in your nostrils, but now it's mixed with something else, a hint of smoke and leather carried on the wind as you continue through the market. You lose yourself among the crowds once more, weaving past stalls selling everything from intricately crafted metalwork to delicate silk embroidery. As you walk, the sun begins its slow descent towards the horizon, casting long shadows across the ground that stretch out like dark fingers reaching for the sky. The air cools slightly as evening draws near, a welcome respite after the heat of the day. You find yourself back at the edge of the market, standing beside the small temple dedicated to the goddess Zhuangmu. Her statue stands tall and serene in its alcove, surrounded by offerings of incense sticks, flowers, and intricately carved wooden figurines. The air is heavy with the scent of sandalwood once more, this time accompanied by the faint tang of smoke as you watch a novice monk carefully light candles to either side of her statue. The soft glow cast by the candles illuminates the intricate carvings on Zhuangmu's pedestal, depicting scenes from ancient myths and legends. As you stand there lost in thought, the sounds of evening begin to stir, merchants closing their stalls for the day, travelers settling into temporary lodgings at the nearby hostel. A faint noise catches your attention as a lone musician begins to play his zhang, its soft strings weaving a hypnotic melody that wraps itself around your heart. The music drifts through the air like mist on a summer morning, ethereal and fragile, yet carrying an underlying strength that resonates deep within you. As the final notes fade away into silence, the novice monk approaches you once more, this time with a small bowl of tea leaves in hand, their fragrance wafting up to mingle with the scent of sandalwood. "Would you like some refreshment?" he asks quietly, his eyes shining with a gentle warmth. You nod gratefully as he pours you a cup from the steaming kettle set on a nearby tray, its ceramic surface glinting softly in the fading light. The tea's fragrance fills your nostrils once more, mingling with the scent of sandalwood and carrying a hint of smokiness that speaks to the fires burning within the temple. As you raise the cup to your lips, you feel a small, quiet sense of peace settle over you, one born from the combination of the soothing tea, the gentle music still echoing in your mind's ear, and the peaceful atmosphere surrounding Zhuangmu's statue. As I raise the cup to my lips, savoring the aroma of jasmine and green tea, a gentle breeze stirs outside, rustling the leaves of the nearby potted plants and carrying with it whispers from passers-by on their way through the temple grounds. The soft hum of conversation and the creaks of wooden sandals on stone paths create a soothing background melody that complements the music still lingering in my mind. The peacefulness settles over me like a shroud, gently wrapping away worries and cares. It's as if Zhuangmu herself has descended upon this moment to bring solace, reminding me of her reputation for compassion and mercy. Though I've heard tales of some seeking her aid with reckless abandon, hoping to bypass the natural order of things through mere supplication, I sense no desperation within myself. My thoughts turn outward as I take a sip from the cup, feeling its warm liquid dance across my tongue before being swallowed in one smooth motion. In this tranquil setting, surrounded by icons and artifacts of Chinese Buddhism, it's easy to forget that beyond these temple walls lies a world governed by different laws, ones where piety is often conflated with state authority. The tea leaves at the bottom of the cup seem to have an otherworldly depth as I gaze into their swirling patterns. The light from the windows above casts intricate shadows on Zhuangmu's statue, making her appear even more majestic than before. It strikes me how a moment of peace such as this is not just about one person, but also reflects the harmony within society when order and balance are maintained. My reverie is broken by the sound of footsteps approaching from behind. A young monk enters my line of sight, carrying an ornate wooden box adorned with intricate carvings that seem to dance in the light. His eyes sparkle as he greets me warmly before carefully placing the box beside Zhuangmu's statue. "Your tea is a reminder," he says softly, his voice not breaking the tranquility around us, "that such moments of peace are sacred and should be cherished. In these times, it's easy to lose sight of what truly matters: balance within oneself, harmony with nature, and compassion for all living beings." I listen attentively as he continues. "The great masters have taught that a harmonious life is not just about adherence to the rules, but also about balance within one's own soul. This temple stands as testament to such teachings. Here in this sanctuary of tranquility, we find solace and guidance on our journey." As I ponder his words, it occurs to me how easy it would be to get lost in the complexities of life beyond these walls. But here, under Zhuangmu's benevolent gaze, it feels as though one can momentarily escape such concerns. A faint sound from outside catches my attention, a low murmur that quickly escalates into a heated conversation. Curiosity piqued, I stand up, setting aside the teacup, and make my way towards the temple entrance to see what's unfolding beyond our serene oasis. The sudden commotion spills onto the grounds of the temple, spilling over with energy and emotion. A group of individuals has gathered near the gate, engaging in a heated discussion that grows more intense by the second. At first glance, it appears they're arguing about something mundane, the price of goods or the best route to take on one's travels. However, as I draw closer, I realize their words are laced with passion and conviction, hinting at a deeper concern, a matter of faith versus tradition. It's a debate that could easily turn into something more volatile, something akin to heresy in an age where conformity is cherished above all else. A figure steps forward from the crowd, speaking loudly against his peers, his voice carrying beyond the temple grounds as if he dares anyone who might be listening outside these walls to challenge him. His words are laced with a fervor that reminds me of stories about those who dare speak out against orthodoxy in this era. I watch with growing unease as the situation unfolds, knowing full well what could happen should such dissenting views reach official ears. In my heart, I feel a pang of empathy for these individuals daring to challenge tradition, even though their methods and conviction may strike me as misguided or even reckless. As they begin to disperse, some retreating back into the streets with a look of fear in their eyes, while others linger at the gate, their faces set in determination. The monk who had been speaking with me earlier approaches, his expression concerned but serene. "You see," he says quietly as we watch them leave, "in such times it's easy to become lost in the passions that drive us forward. But remember, true harmony comes not from conformity, but from understanding and compassion." His words are a gentle reminder of the balance I must strive for within myself, to find peace amidst turmoil, just like Zhuangmu teaches. The scent of incense wafts through the air, carried on the gentle breeze that stirs the dust motes dancing around the lanterns hung from the eaves of a modest courtyard home in Luoyang's rebuilt quarter. You breathe it in deeply, feeling the familiar comfort of a life lived amidst turmoil. Inside this restored residence, you find yourself standing beside Master Zhang as he inspects the wooden lattice screens that filter the morning light into the rooms below. He pauses to adjust a particularly wonky slat, his calloused hands moving with the gentle deliberation of one accustomed to making small repairs in the stillness before dawn. The worn wood beneath your feet creaks softly as you shift weight onto it, and for an instant, you feel a pang of discomfort at being asked to stand so long. Your muscles protest the strain on them from a sleepless night spent listening to Master Zhang's tales of rebuilding his family's home after the great fire that razed 3/4 of Luoyang. He glances over, noticing your fidgeting stance, and offers an understanding nod before continuing with his task. You watch as he works, lost in thought about how many such mornings you've spent together, watching the sun rise behind the city's rebuilt walls, sensing its warmth on skin still weary from the previous day's toil. Your attention drifts back to Master Zhang's skilled hands, their movements practiced over years of maintaining this home and so many others like it. Each slat he adjusts seems a small victory against the forces that sought to consume Luoyang's past. His work is both meticulous and soothing, a reminder that even amidst great change, there are moments of peace that can be savored. The morning sun casts its golden light upon the courtyard, illuminating dust particles suspended in midair, making it seem as though tiny sparks dance around you. You feel a sense of tranquility wash over you with each gentle touch of sunlight on skin, pushing aside worries about what tomorrow may bring. Time seems to stretch and compress simultaneously within this moment. Memories from the fire's aftermath are etched vividly in your mind, scenes of desperation, hopelessness, resilience, and yet they feel remote, a world away from this quiet morning scene where Master Zhang works his craft. You recall how he spoke about the fire's lessons. A balance must be found between the turmoil that sweeps us up and the peace we strive for within. He mentioned Zhuangmu, the Queen of the West, who teaches him to find harmony in chaos. It was advice not just for rebuilding homes but also lives. Master Zhang adjusts another slat with a soft grunt, his focus solely on the task at hand. His hands seem to move by instinct now, guiding each slat into place as naturally as one would breathe out after a long, deep inhale. The wooden lattice glows warmly in the morning light, its intricate patterns revealing themselves like a slowly uncoiling vine. The air is filled with the scent of incense and something else. Perhaps it's the wood itself or the subtle hint of Master Zhang's breakfast cooking over an open flame nearby. The aroma blends with the morning dew on the courtyard stone floor, creating a fragrance both earthy and serene. You breathe in deeply again, allowing your senses to settle into this peaceful scene. The world outside seems far away from here, a world where great changes are happening but also staying the same. In this moment, amidst Master Zhang's quiet dedication to rebuilding his home, you feel closer to understanding what he means by finding peace within turmoil. Time stretches on as Master Zhang works. The sun rises higher in the sky, casting longer shadows across the courtyard, illuminating dust particles still suspended midair like tiny sparks dancing around you. His work slows, and with each adjustment of a slat, his breathing becomes more even, more serene. The wooden lattice now shines with an almost ethereal quality, its intricacies reflecting in your mind as memories of Master Zhang's words replay themselves, To find peace amidst turmoil is to understand the world's rhythm. He spoke about living life like one navigates a current, a gentle yielding rather than fighting against it. The task before him seems so simple, yet speaks volumes about his patience, resilience, and dedication. As you stand there watching Master Zhang adjust another slat into place with an almost loving touch, time becomes your ally again. Memories of the fire's aftermath feel distant now, like a receding tide that leaves behind only remnants of what once was. For a moment, all seems at peace, like the wooden lattice has absorbed every worry and concern within its intricate patterns, leaving you to breathe in deeply without any weight on your shoulders except for Master Zhang's words echoing softly, peace amidst turmoil, balance within oneself. As I sat amidst the tranquil scene, Master Zhang's enigmatic phrase continued to reverberate within me like a gentle zither melody. Peace amidst turmoil. How simple yet profound those words seemed. Yet, as I gazed out at the desolate landscape beyond our humble tea house, my mind couldn't help but wander back to the fire that had ravaged 3/4 of Luoyang just months prior. The once thriving city now lay in smoldering ruins, its people struggling to rebuild and reclaim their lives amidst the ashes. It was as if time itself had been warped, leaving us suspended between what had been lost and what yet remained to be rebuilt. And I, like so many others, found myself caught in this liminal space, yearning for a sense of peace, but unable to shake off the memories that lingered like embers. Just then, Master Zhang's gentle voice broke through my reverie once more. The flame that consumes also purifies, he said, as if reading from some unseen script within me. I turned to him with a mixture of curiosity and trepidation, wondering what deeper truth lay hidden behind his cryptic words. As we sat in silence for a moment longer, the sounds of Luoyang's rebirth began to filter into our tea house, the clanging of hammer on anvil from nearby blacksmith shops, the chatter of market-goers haggling over goods, and even the occasional cry of a child laughing with abandon. Life was slowly seeping back into this ravaged city, like water flowing through a cracked vessel. Our own tea house, though modest in appearance, stood as a beacon amidst the chaos, an oasis where weary travelers could find respite from the trials they faced on their journeys along the Silk Road. Master Zhang had always been a master of creating such spaces. His unwavering dedication to helping others navigate life's turmoil was evident in every carefully arranged stone and intricately painted scroll that adorned our humble abode. As I pondered these thoughts, the door creaked open, and a young traveler stumbled inside, weary-eyed, dusty-skinned, but with an unmistakable air of resilience about him. Our guest introduced himself as Li, fresh from the western provinces of Xi'an, seeking refuge in Luoyang's relative calm after fleeing his own burning city. Master Zhang welcomed Li warmly, ushering him into our small tea room where a steaming pot awaited on a low table. As we sipped our scented tea together, Li spoke with a candidness that I had come to associate with those who traversed the unforgiving expanse of the Silk Road, his words spilling forth like an unburdened stream. Peace amidst turmoil, he repeated Master Zhang's phrase as if testing its resonance. But what happens when the turmoil never truly ends? When every step feels like navigating a minefield, and the weight of one misstep could plunge you back into darkness. In this moment, I realized that our tea house was not merely an offering for weary travelers, but also a sanctuary, where those who'd faced their own fires could share stories, find solace in each other's struggles, and perhaps discover glints of hope amidst the smoldering remains. As we sipped our tea into the evening hours, our conversation became a tapestry woven from disparate threads. Li shared tales of lost loved ones. Master Zhang offered cryptic wisdom drawn from his vast reservoir of knowledge, while I found myself pouring out my own fears and doubts about rebuilding Luoyang, searching for some semblance of peace in this tumultuous world. The night deepened, casting a silver glow over our little gathering as the wind outside carried whispers of distant memories. The wooden lattice beyond Master Zhang's words seemed to shimmer with an otherworldly light, absorbing not only our collective worries but also the very essence of time itself, reminding us that peace is never truly separate from turmoil, for it exists within each beat of a heart that has weathered fire and darkness. In this quiet hour, surrounded by shadows cast from flickering lanterns and stories shared like sacred incense, I felt something settle, an understanding that while we may not escape the flames that engulf our cities or shatter our worlds, peace can arise in moments when hearts connect across fragmented lands. As Master Zhang smiled knowingly at me over his teacup, Li nodded with a hint of recognition on his face, and our little gathering dissolved into another layer of this city's ever-shifting fabric, carrying within it the seeds for new beginnings. The scent of incense wafted through the air, carrying with it whispers of distant lands and forgotten prayers. It clung to the dusty robes of Master Zhang as he rose from his chair, a quiet rustle of fabric accompanying him as he made his way towards the eastern wing of the temple. You stand alongside me now, feeling the gentle lapping of incense smoke against your skin, its tendrils curling around your fingers like wisps of fog on a winter's morning. The air inside is thick with it, heavy and cloying, but somehow cleansing too, as if the very act of burning herbs and resins had scrubbed away some of the city's grime. As Master Zhang walks ahead, you notice the worn soles of his shoes scraping against the stone floor. It's a sound that echoes through many an ancient temple, the gentle scuffing of aged leather on cool marble, a reminder that in these hallowed halls time itself is often measured by the creaks and groans of wooden beams. Ahead of us lies the main hall of the first Buddhist temple built along this stretch of the Silk Road. Its high ceiling disappears into shadows above, its walls adorned with murals depicting scenes from ancient India, bodhisattvas descending to earth like lotus flowers unfurling on the surface of a pond, avatars riding lions and elephants as they conquer demons. You feel your gaze drawn upwards now, tracing the patterns etched onto the ceiling, intricate carvings that tell stories in their own right. The master's footsteps grow fainter as he disappears into the shadows behind the altar, leaving you to wander through this space alone for a moment. Your eyes settle upon a fresco depicting the Buddha himself, serene and distant, yet somehow impossibly vibrant within its painted frame. You breathe in deeply now, feeling your chest expand against the cool air inside. It's as if with each inhalation, some small part of that ancient story begins to unfurl itself for you. Time passes unnoticed here. Only when footsteps approach do we realize how long we've stood there lost in contemplation. The sound grows louder still, and Master Zhang reappears beside us, his robes rustling softly against your leg as he joins hands with Li once more, the two of them beginning a slow, measured pace towards the far end of the hall. As you walk alongside, notice how each step echoes slightly before coming into sync with its companion. It's an odd sensation. These footsteps seem almost separate entities that must gradually become attuned to one another in order to create this quiet harmony, like two old friends meeting after a long absence and needing time for their steps to once again fall into the familiar cadence of companionship. A murmur rises now from ahead, growing louder as you approach. It's hard at first to place, just an indistinct rumble that could be anything from the distant hum of chanting monks to a group of travelers arguing in the courtyard below. But then comes the sound itself, hushed tones and muttered discussions rising into a small, contained storm. Master Zhang halts abruptly now, his head cocked slightly as he listens intently. Li leans forward, eyes scanning ahead with an air of concern etched between his eyebrows. You feel your own ears perk up in response to this sudden change. What could be so pressing that these usually calm and collected individuals seem almost on edge? As you pause alongside them, the murmur rises higher still, until it resolves into a small, tight knot of people huddled around something at the far end of the hall. It's impossible yet not quite possible, but somehow they appear to have unearthed some hidden compartment within one of these ancient walls. The group nears, and with each step their murmurs grow louder. Questions being asked, explanations demanded, and a general air of excitement spreading through this otherwise tranquil space like ripples on the surface of a pond. It's infectious, or perhaps just plain annoying. Whichever way it might be taken, one can't help but feel drawn towards that knot of people as if they were somehow holding out an unspoken invitation to join their little gathering. You find yourself moving forward now alongside Master Zhang and Li, curiosity getting the better of you in this otherwise tranquil setting. Each step feels almost hesitant, a mix between concern for these individuals' fervent discussion and fascination with whatever it is that has sparked such reaction within them. Finally, as one reaches the group's periphery, they draw back slightly to allow room for newcomers to join their little circle. It's then you see what lies at the center of all this commotion. An old stone compartment now fully exposed, its surface weathered into a subtle mosaic that hints at stories long buried beneath. The air is heavy with anticipation, not quite palpable but definitely present as Master Zhang gently begins to prod the compartment's contents free from their hiding place. The resulting silence that follows his first tentative touch seems almost deafening in comparison. An expectant stillness broken only by Li's soft sigh of satisfaction and the gentle crunching of stone beneath Master Zhang's fingers. As he works, notice how each piece comes loose with a small, grating sound, as if every fragment was once attached to its neighbor by some fine thread that's now snapped in their hands. It's almost painful, this slow revelation of secrets long hidden away within these temple walls. Yet it is also strangely mesmerizing, like watching an old tree shed its autumn leaves one by one, each falling piece carrying with it a whiff of history and the promise of stories waiting to be unearthed. You feel your own breathing slowing now in tandem with Master Zhang's careful movements, this quiet excavation of memories past. Each piece he lifts out seems almost weighty, as if it held within its small stone heart some vital part of their collective story that had been hidden away for so long. With each new fragment, a murmur begins to rise from the gathered group once more. It's not quite an argument, nor is it a friendly discussion. Rather, it seems like they're debating something fundamental, as if this small stone compartment held within its depths some key insight into their world that only now becomes apparent. Their voices intertwine and overlap in a complex dance of words, Master Zhang speaking softly to calm the others while Li listens intently, you standing on the periphery, lost yet somehow drawn towards these people who seem so captivated by what they've found. In this quiet, gentle atmosphere, where even their disagreements appear almost respectful, it's possible to feel the pulse of history itself, a living entity that beats in time with every conversation, every stone unearthed from its hiding place. As Master Zhang continues his work, and Li leans forward to examine each new piece more closely, you find yourself drawn towards them without fully understanding why. The air is heavy now, not just with anticipation, but also an almost palpable sense of reverence for these people who have managed to uncover something truly significant within the temple's ancient walls. You breathe in deeply once again, feeling your chest expand against this cool, incense-filled air as if it too might be infused with a small part of their collective story. It's hard yet somehow easy, like trying to grasp sand between your fingers only for it to slip away, or attempting to comprehend the intricacies of these people's emotions without fully grasping them yourself. As you stand there, lost in this quiet atmosphere that seems at once both familiar and foreign, Master Zhang slowly rises from his knees. The group parts around him now as he makes his way back towards Li, each member watching with an air of expectation that hangs heavy within the space like a promise yet to be fulfilled. The old stone compartment still lies open on its pedestal, waiting for those pieces to fall into place, holding secrets and stories long hidden away. As they made their way back towards Li, the group couldn't help but feel a sense of trepidation wash over them. It was as if the weight of history and mystery had settled upon them like a shroud, urging them to uncover the secrets that lay hidden within those ancient walls. Li, sensing his companion's unease, placed a reassuring hand on each of their shoulders. "We will face whatever lies ahead together," he said, his voice steady as ever. "Our journey has only just begun." The group followed Li in silence, lost in their own thoughts and reflections. Some pondered the significance of the stone compartment's opening, while others couldn't help but wonder what lay hidden within its depths. As they walked, the sounds of the market grew louder, a cacophony of vendors hawking their wares, merchants bartering over prices, and the occasional clang of a hammer on metal. It was as if the world outside those temple walls had been waiting patiently for them to return, ready to reclaim its place in the fabric of daily life. Upon entering Li's humble abode, they found an elderly woman busily preparing dinner. The scent of simmering vegetables and roasting meat wafted through the air, mingling with the sweet aroma of incense. She smiled warmly as they entered, her eyes crinkling at the corners. "Welcome home," she said, setting aside a steaming bowl to take it from Li's hands. "I have prepared something special for you all. I knew you would be hungry after your journey." The group exchanged grateful glances, their hunger and thirst momentarily forgotten in the face of her kindness. As they sat down at the small table, Li broke the silence that had begun to settle over them. "We must talk about what we found," he said, his eyes scanning each member of the group before settling on the stone compartment's pedestal. "The opening of that compartment was no coincidence. It has been waiting for us all this time." As they began to discuss their findings and speculate about the secrets hidden within those ancient walls, a soft knock at the door interrupted them. It was an elderly man, dressed in simple but clean robes, with a kind face and a humble demeanor. "Excuse me, Lei," he said, his eyes scanning the group before settling on him once more. "I couldn't help but overhear your conversation about the temple's secrets. I may have some information that can shed light upon what you've discovered." The group exchanged curious glances as the elderly man took a seat among them. His name was Wang, and he claimed to be an old friend of Li's family, one who had spent many years studying ancient texts and legends. I remember hearing stories about the temple from my grandfather, he said, his voice filled with reverence. He spoke of a hidden chamber deep within its walls, one that contained the sacred relics of our ancestors. The group leaned in closer as Wang began to recount tales of an ancient civilization, one whose wisdom had been lost to time and forgotten by modern scholars. According to legend, he said, his eyes sparkling with excitement, the temple's builders hid away precious artifacts within its walls. These were not just any relics, but the very essence of our people, their hearts, minds, and souls. As Wang spoke, the group listened in rapt attention. Each member hung on every word as if hanging onto a lifeline that connected them to something greater than themselves. But with each passing moment, Li's expression grew increasingly troubled. He seemed lost in thought, his eyes scanning the room as if searching for something he couldn't quite find. The others sensed it too, an undercurrent of unease that threatened to disrupt their growing camaraderie. "What is it?" Wang asked gently, noticing Li's distress. "Is there something you wish to share?" Li hesitated before speaking, his voice barely above a whisper. "It may be nothing," he said slowly, "but I've been having these visions, glimpses of the past that feel almost real." The group exchanged curious glances as Wang leaned in closer, an eager look on his face. "Tell us more," he urged Li gently, urging him to open up about this newfound experience. The scent of wood smoke wafted through the air, carrying with it the promise of warmth and comfort on a chilly autumn evening. The faint tang of damp earth mingled with the sweetness of roasting chestnuts, drawing you in like a beacon to the bustling market square. You walked among the stalls, your footsteps echoing off the tiled roofs as you navigated through the throngs of people hurrying about their daily business. Merchants called out to one another, haggling over prices and quality of goods, while shoppers sampled fabrics and spices with discerning eyes. The air was alive with the smells of cooking oil, fresh bread, and incense wafting from a nearby temple. As you wove through the crowds, your gaze fell upon a small wooden stall tucked away in a corner of the market. A sign above the counter read "Coins minted by Imperial decree" in elegant calligraphy, while the vendor himself sat hunched over his workbench, his eyes fixed intently on the task at hand. You watched as he carefully examined each coin that passed through his hands, scrutinizing every detail from the weight to the intricate designs stamped onto its surface. His name was Wang, and he had spent years honing his craft under the tutelage of a master engraver who specialized in minting coins for the imperial court. A single coin lay before him now, one that seemed out of place among the rest due to an unusual mark etched into its edge. The vendor's eyes narrowed as he held it up to the light, his brow furrowed with concern. It was a small mistake, perhaps, but one that could have far-reaching consequences if not addressed promptly. You noticed how Wang's hands moved with precision and care, each movement deliberate and calculated as he examined every inch of the coin. His fingers were stained with ink and oil from years of handling coins, while his sleeves were rolled up to reveal a sprinkling of fine dust on his forearms, the remnants of countless hours spent engraving intricate designs onto metal. The silence between you and Wang was palpable, punctuated only by the soft clinking of coins being weighed and examined. He set aside the problematic coin for now, carefully setting it in a small wooden tray filled with other similarly irregular pieces awaiting attention from his master. As you observed this process, you began to feel a sense of detachment, as if watching Wang at work was akin to observing a skilled artisan working on some intricate piece of calligraphy. Each stroke and movement held significance. Each decision weighed carefully against the consequences it might bring upon those who would use these coins. Time seemed to slow down in this small stall, suspended between past and present like the delicate balance of water flowing over smooth stones. Wang's focus remained unwavering, his eyes fixed intently on every detail as he sought perfection in an imperfect world. A faint hum began to build outside, a distant thrumming that grew louder with each passing moment, until it became clear this was no ordinary market day. The vendors around you were exchanging hushed whispers and glancing over their shoulders, sensing something amiss. Wang's head jerked up from his workbench as he too caught wind of the commotion. For a brief instant, time seemed to hold its breath, an expectant pause that seemed almost palpable in its stillness. Then, like ripples spreading across a pond, panic began to seep into the market square. Vendors hastily gathered their belongings and rushed to secure their stalls, while nearby townsfolk peered out from behind fluttering awnings. Wang's hands moved with increased urgency now as he carefully wrapped his coins in layers of fine silk before shoving them deep within a leather pouch tied tightly around his waist. His eyes darted towards the throngs streaming past, an expression that was almost akin to worry etched across his face. As one by one the stalls were hastily abandoned and left unattended, it became apparent this was more than just some minor disturbance or lost item. Something greater had transpired beyond your immediate surroundings. The hum of footsteps continued unabated outside, like a distant drumbeat growing louder still with each passing moment. The wind carried whispers through the market square now, rumors spread by overanxious townsfolk and hushed conversations about what might have happened elsewhere in the city. Wang looked up towards you once more before swiftly shoving away his stall's coverings to reveal a small wooden chest hidden beneath, its intricate locks clicking open with a soft metallic click. A single coin lay within, set apart from all others due to an unusual secret mark etched into its edge, the same mark that had caused Wang such concern earlier. He carefully retrieved this coin and held it up against the light once more before setting it back alongside other similarly irregular pieces awaiting his master's attention. For a fleeting instant, you felt as though time itself was suspended around you, a moment frozen within an eternally shifting world where every choice seemed weighed with far greater significance than mere mortal men could ever truly comprehend. And in that stillness, just before Wang hastily gathered the rest of his belongings and vanished into the swirling throngs outside, it became clear this small wooden stall was not merely a place for coins, but also a threshold to something far more complex, far-reaching, and subtle. As you stood there amidst the fading sounds of commotion and scattered stalls, your footsteps felt slow in their return, weighed down by an unseen burden. The scent of wood smoke had grown fainter now, lost beneath the increasing din outside, until finally it was nothing but a memory carried away on the wind as you vanished into the sea of townsfolk flowing through the market square. As you flowed through the sea of townsfolk, a kaleidoscope of colors and sounds enveloped you, the vibrant hues of silk fabrics on display, the clinking of pottery vases, the melodic chatter of merchants hawking their wares, and the pungent aromas wafting from food stalls. You navigated through the crowds with ease, your senses heightened as a merchant's call caught your attention. Rare jade fresh from Sichuan. Come see the beauty for yourself. His voice was like a siren song, beckoning you to stop and admire his treasure. You wove past the stall, sidestepping a group of giggling children chasing each other through the square. The air vibrated with their carefree laughter as they played tag among the market stalls. Your gaze drifted toward the sound of hammering on metal coming from a nearby blacksmith's shop. A young apprentice, sweat-drenched and focused, pounded away at a glowing piece of iron. His master watched over him, his eyes narrowed in concentration. Your attention was drawn back to the silk merchants as you passed by their stalls. You spotted a particular vendor whose intricate patterns seemed to dance across the fabric like springtime blossoms on a willow tree. A delicate dragon coiled around a central motif, its scales glistening with an almost otherworldly sheen in the morning light. The merchant's eyes lit up as you paused before his stall. "Ah, sir or madam, welcome to my humble abode of silks. I see you have an eye for beauty. This is no ordinary fabric. It's been infused with the essence of lotus flowers, said to bring good fortune and prosperity." The merchant's words dripped like honey as he held up a swatch of the silk. You hesitated, weighing your options amidst the tantalizing array of wares on display. Your fingers brushed against the silken fabric, releasing a whisper of fragrance that sent shivers down your spine. You turned to leave, but something caught your eye, an almost imperceptible symbol etched into the corner of the swatch. A single coin stamped with the Emperor's secret mark. Your heart skipped a beat as memories long buried resurfaced like ripples on still water. The symbol was said to be reserved for imperial messengers and trusted officials, bearing the weight of authority and privilege within its subtle curves. What would it mean for this ordinary silk merchant to possess such an item? Was he merely pretending, or had he truly acquired a secret token from one of the Emperor's men? Your curiosity piqued. You leaned in closer, careful not to draw attention to yourself as you examined the symbol more closely. The merchant smiled knowingly, his eyes glinting with understanding. "Ah, sir or madam, I see you have an appreciation for the finer things in life," he said with a nod of respect. "Tell me, what do you think this mark might signify?" Your response was lost beneath the din of market activity as merchants and townsfolk rushed past, absorbed in their own pursuits. The merchant chuckled knowingly and continued to chat amiably about his wares. With newfound interest piqued, you lingered at his stall a while longer, engaging him in conversation that felt almost like an extension of your inner thoughts. Your fingers trailed over the silken fabric once more as the merchant revealed stories behind each item on display, tales woven from myth and reality, which danced across cultures and civilizations. Time flowed by unmarked, carried along with you through the market square's currents. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, shadows shortening in response to its movement, your thoughts turned toward a single coin stamped with an emperor's secret mark. What secrets lay hidden within those subtle curves? The acrid smell of burning incense wafted through the crowded streets, mingling with the pungent aroma of human waste that clung to every corner of the city like a bad omen. You walked along the narrow alleys, your feet carrying you on autopilot as you navigated the winding paths between stalls and shops. The sun beat down relentlessly, its rays shimmering off the terracotta rooftops like a mirage. You passed by a vendor selling fresh flowers, their vibrant colors a stark contrast to the dull grays and browns that dominated this part of town. The scent of blooming lavender wafted up, momentarily distracting you from the oppressive heat. But it was short-lived. The stench of human waste reasserted itself, clinging to your nostrils like an unwelcome guest. The air vibrated with the cacophony of vendors calling out their wares: fresh fish, fresh rice, buy my incense sticks and get a discount on the matching oil. The sounds blended together in a jarring symphony that threatened to shatter the eardrums. You winced, covering your ears momentarily as you dodged a group of raucous children chasing each other through the alleys. The temperature seemed to have climbed another few degrees since morning, and the air clung to your skin like a damp blanket. Sweat beaded on your forehead, trickling down into the corners of your eyes where it stung. You wiped it away with the hem of your sleeve, careful not to smudge the dust that coated everything. You walked past rows of worn stone buildings, their facades cracked and crumbling as if in time with the city's perpetual decay. Each doorway was a portal into another world, a dark and musty cave filled with the scent of old books, a cramped kitchen where a cook stirred a cauldron of simmering broth that wafted savory aromas through the air, or an opulent chamber filled with the faint scent of jasmine perfume, its occupants lost in hushed conversation. As you turned a corner, the smells and sounds coalesced into a perfect storm. The putrid aroma of human waste mingled with the acrid tang of burning incense to create a noxious cloud that clung to your clothes like a bad habit. You coughed involuntarily as the fumes stung your lungs. A vendor nearby caught sight of you and held out a stick of his precious incense, its surface etched with intricate patterns that seemed almost otherworldly in their beauty. "Try this one," he said, winking at you from beneath the brim of his hat. "The finest quality, made locally, it'll transport you to paradise." You hesitated for a moment before shaking your head and continuing on your way. The vendor looked crestfallen but quickly recovered, calling out after you as you disappeared into the crowded alleys, "Come back. I have more varieties, sandalwood, rose petals. Something for every taste." The sounds of the city receded somewhat as you turned down a narrower alleyway, its walls seeming to close in around you like sentinels guarding ancient secrets. The air grew thick with an almost palpable sense of history, whispers of forgotten rituals and long-abandoned customs that lingered in the shadows like phantoms. You walked past stalls selling peculiar trinkets, jade carvings shaped like mythical creatures, intricate silk fans adorned with patterns that seemed to dance across their surface. Each vendor called out his own story about the item's provenance, a gift from a Tang emperor himself, or for centuries this family has been crafting these exquisite pieces, our ancestor was even an imperial artist. As you wove through the crowds, your footsteps echoed off the stone walls in a rhythmic cadence that seemed to match the pounding of your heart. You felt like a ghost drifting through the labyrinthine alleys, invisible and forgotten amidst the throngs. The city's inhabitants, merchants, artisans, monks, moved with an air of purpose that belied their exhaustion. Their faces etched with lines from years spent haggling over prices or tending to fires, they seemed resigned to living in this perpetual state of limbo between chaos and order. Each face told a story of tiny triumphs and crushing defeats, Each hand was worn smooth by the constant handling of goods, coins, or writing brushes. You passed beneath an awning that offered respite from the sun's glare, its surface etched with characters in a style you didn't recognize, some forgotten dialect of Chinese, left over from dynasties past. Beneath it stood a stall selling fresh tea leaves, their fragrant aroma wafting up like a promise. You paused for a moment to purchase a small packet of the finest Longjing tea, its price carefully negotiated with a vendor who seemed more interested in watching his neighbors haggling over a patchwork quilt than attending to your own transaction. The cost was almost laughably low, 1 copper coin per ounce, but you knew it would be worth every fraction of that sum. The packet felt heavy in your hand, its weight reassuring as you tucked it into the fold of your sleeve alongside other essentials. A water skin, an extra set of clothes, and perhaps a small charm or two for protection. You breathed in deeply, feeling the dust of the city settle within you like a permanent parting gift. The sounds of the alleys, vendors calling out their wares, horses clopping through the distance, children's giggles carrying on the wind gradually faded into the background as you strolled toward a nearby park. Its entrance was guarded by two intricately carved stone lions, their faces serious and watchful in the fading light. You walked beneath an archway formed from delicate wooden filigree, its surface etched with patterns that seemed to repeat themselves like echoes of something long forgotten. The air within was cooler than outside, perhaps 10 degrees C lower. You couldn't quite gauge it, but the change felt almost palpable as you stepped into a realm where time itself appeared to slow. Trees loomed above, their leaves rustling in a gentle breeze that carried whispers from unknown conversations. Birds sang sweet melodies that contrasted with the cacophony outside. Cuckoo. Cuckoo rose above all else, or perhaps it was just your own heartbeat echoing within the stillness. You sat down on a bench beneath one of these trees, its gnarled roots twisted and tangled like ancient hands. Your weight settled into the wooden slats as you took in the peaceful atmosphere. What secrets lay hidden within those subtle curves came back to haunt you now. Time itself seemed suspended here. It was almost as if you'd stepped outside the city's frantic rhythm, leaving behind the constant din of haggling and trading. Your breathing slowed to match that of a nearby group practicing Tai Chi exercises, their movements smooth, fluid, almost ethereal in their harmony with nature. For what felt like an eternity, or perhaps just minutes, time lost all meaning here. You sat amidst this tableau, trees swaying above, birds singing sweet melodies, people moving through the park with purpose and care. The sounds of the city receded into a distant background hum, almost imperceptible now, as if it had grown tired and was content to simply exist. As your mind began to unwind like an uncoiled spring, releasing its stored tension into the atmosphere around you, something unexpected caught your attention. A young girl playing with a handful of sticks beneath one of the nearby trees. Her eyes shone bright in this dim light, almost otherworldly as she concentrated on her game. You watched, transfixed by the intricate patterns she created and destroyed with each movement. Their beauty was like nothing you'd ever seen before. In that moment, something stirred deep within your chest, a fleeting sense of connection to these people, their lives, and this strange city where time seemed both accelerated and slowed at once. The world around you began to come back into focus as the sounds from outside seeped in, vendors calling out wares, children's laughter carrying through the park. The girl looked up, caught your gaze for a brief moment before returning her attention to her sticks. The soft glow of a lantern danced across the stone floor, casting flickering shadows on the walls of the marketplace at Chang'an. You are walking through the narrow alleys, your footsteps echoing off the buildings as you make your way towards the central square. The air is thick with the smell of cooking oil and spices, wafting from vendors' stalls set up throughout the market. You breathe in deeply, feeling the savory scents fill your lungs. As you walk, the sounds of haggling merchants and the clinking of pots and pans create a lively atmosphere. People hurry past, their faces aglow with candles or lanterns held high to light the way through the darkness. The temperature is mild for this time of year, carrying just a hint of autumn's chill. You notice the weight of your bag slung over one shoulder, filled with the day's purchases. A few bunches of fresh greens, some dried noodles, and a small basket of apples from the orchards outside the city walls. The leather is worn smooth in places, its familiar creak a comforting sound as you move. Ahead of you, a group of musicians takes their place on the central square stage. They begin to play, the sweet notes of a sheng flute weaving together with the gentle thrum of a chin zither and the steady beat of a dagu drum. The music is soothing, drawing in passers-by like bees to honey. You pause to listen, letting the sounds wash over you as people around you start to dance or simply sway to the rhythm. A group nearby begins an animated conversation about the merits of different types of silk fabrics. Some swear by the fine threads from Sogdiana, while others claim nothing beats the quality of Chinese brocade. The music swells and then recedes, leaving behind a silence that is almost palpable in its stillness. The vendors resume their haggling, but at a slower pace now, as if reluctant to shatter the peaceful atmosphere created by the musicians. You notice an old man sitting on a nearby bench, surrounded by his wares. Intricately carved wooden figurines and delicate porcelain vases glinting in the lantern light. He catches your eye and beckons you over with a gnarled hand, not too far off now, so as to be heard above the growing din of conversation. As you approach, he rummages through his pockets for a small notebook and flips it open, showing you some rough sketches of new designs. Interlocking flowers on one page, abstract patterns on another. He mutters something about needing more practice with this new set of brushes. They're stiffer than the ones used back in the day. He hands you a small wooden figurine, roughly carved into the shape of a mythical creature from ancient legend. You take it hesitantly, not sure if your wallet will stretch to cover its price, about 2 copper coins per unit weight. The old man chuckles. "No need for that much, young one," he says, with an eye on some passing merchants who clearly have more clout in the market. You fumble through your bag for a single coin and hand it over, carefully avoiding his knowing glance at your meager earnings from today's labor. The transaction complete, you turn to leave but pause as he leans forward, close enough that his breath carries on yours. "Think about returning tomorrow," he says quietly, eyes squinting with a mixture of curiosity and concern. "Bring something new." You feel the soft weight of your bag still attached at your shoulder, now filled not just with goods to sustain you, but also this enigmatic message from an old man whose life is spent crafting beauty into wood and clay. The music drifts on in the background as you weave back through the alleys towards the comforting glow of home. As you emerge from the winding alleys and into the bustling marketplace at Chang'an, The sounds and smells assault your senses once again. The music still lingers in your mind, but it's quickly drowned out by the cacophony of hawkers calling out their wares, merchants haggling over prices, and the clanging of pots and pans from the food stalls. You weave through the crowds, careful not to get jostled or knocked off balance. The bag still attached at your shoulder feels heavier now, as if the weight of the enigmatic message is pressing down on you. You can't quite decipher its meaning yet, but it's nagging at the back of your mind like a persistent itch. As you make your way through the market, you notice that the stalls are selling an assortment of good silks and fine fabrics, intricately carved wooden trinkets, jade, and precious stones. There are also vendors offering exotic spices, dried fruits, and other delicacies from far-off lands. The smells wafting through the air are intoxicating, making your stomach growl with hunger. You stop at a stall selling steaming bowls of noodles, and the vendor greets you with a warm smile. Welcome, traveler. Come try my special batch just arrived today from Sichuan province. He hands you a pair of chopsticks, and you take a seat on a nearby stool to enjoy your meal. As you eat, you notice a group of people gathered around the edge of the market, their faces lit up by the flickering torches. They seem to be listening intently to someone speaking from a raised platform. You recognize some of them as fellow travelers and traders who have passed through Chang'an on previous journeys. Curiosity getting the better of you, you finish your noodles quickly and join the crowd around the speaker. He's an elderly man with a long white beard and piercing eyes that seem to bore into your soul. His words are laced with an air of authority and wisdom, drawing you in like a magnet. The world is changing, he says, his voice carrying over the din of the market. The Tang Dynasty is at its peak, but we must not forget our roots, the traditions that have made us strong for centuries. We must hold on to what has been passed down through generations, lest we lose ourselves in the sands of time. As you listen intently to his words, a commotion breaks out near the edge of the market. A group of guardsmen rush past, chasing after someone who's running wildly through the crowds. The elderly speaker raises his voice above the din. Foolishness. Fear not what lies beyond these walls, he says, shaking his head in disgust. We have much to worry about within our own city, corruption and greed eating away at the very heart of our great civilization. The guards eventually catch up with their quarry, pinning him against a nearby stall. As they drag him away, you see that it's one of your fellow travelers from a few nights ago, the young man who was so keen on exploring every nook and cranny of Chang'an. You exchange worried glances with some of the other travelers, sensing that this might not be an isolated incident. Rumors have been circulating about bandits preying on merchants in the city's outskirts, but it seems like there may be more to these events than meets the eye. As you ponder what this could mean for your own journey and safety, a figure approaches from behind one of the guardsmen who helped subdue the fleeing traveler. He catches your eye, his expression a mixture of curiosity and caution. "Traveler," he says quietly, "we've had reports that there might be trouble brewing in the city tonight. Perhaps it would be wise to keep a low profile for now." His words send a shiver down your spine as you glance back at the marketplace, feeling like an uneasy storm cloud has gathered on the horizon. As I stood there, my gaze lingering on the marketplace, a mixture of unease and curiosity wrestled for dominance within me. The vendor's words had been laced with an unspoken warning, one that hinted at more than mere rumors or hearsay. His tone was serious, his eyes scanning our surroundings as if searching for potential threats. I glanced around, my mind racing to pinpoint the source of any trouble. But all seemed quiet, save for a few stragglers haggling over prices and the soft clucking of chickens in the nearby stalls. The air remained thick with the scent of spices, incense, and roasting meats, the familiar aromas that usually filled my senses. But tonight felt different. A faint breeze rustled through the trees lining the city walls, carrying an undercurrent of tension I couldn't quite explain. It was as if the very atmosphere had grown heavier, more charged with electricity than usual. My skin prickled in response to this palpable unease, and for a moment I forgot about my fatigue from traveling. The vendor's hand on my arm broke me out of my reverie, reminding me that we still needed to decide what course of action to take. His voice was low, measured as he continued, "Come now, friend traveler, there may be no immediate cause for concern, but prudence dictates caution when dealing with the forces at play in our city." The sound of his words carried weight, and I hesitated before responding. Something about this situation didn't sit well within me. Perhaps it was simply my own growing unease or a lingering distrust from past experiences on the Silk Road. "I understand your concerns," I said finally, "but which forces are you speaking of?" Whispers in dark alleys don't usually concern me unless they involve direct threats to myself. A hint of irony danced at the edge of his voice as he replied, "Ah, but that's precisely where we differ. These troubles aren't necessarily aimed directly at individuals, more like the undercurrents beneath our city's foundation. Changes in power dynamics within the Imperial court have caused ripples throughout Chang'an." A subtle nod from him conveyed a warning, "Tread carefully." As if sensing my growing unease, he suggested, "If you're concerned about safety, perhaps we could retire for now. It won't be long before night falls completely. Your accommodations are nearby after all." I hesitated once more. My lodgings were indeed close by, but tonight's events had kindled a spark within me. How would this turmoil affect travelers like myself? I couldn't shake the image of those shadowy figures moving unseen through our midst. "No," I said firmly, my voice carrying conviction even to my own ears. "I'll not be swayed so easily by rumors and speculation. This city is usually bustling at night, its energy infectious enough that it often puts me in high spirits." The vendor raised an eyebrow but said nothing more. We both knew the risks involved with staying out later than we should, yet I couldn't bring myself to abandon this marketplace tonight. As if responding to some unspoken understanding between us, a group of musicians appeared from nowhere on one corner of the market square, their stringed instruments weaving together an enchanting melody that drew passers-by in. It was as though fate had conspired with the vendor's words. Now I would see firsthand what this night brought, perhaps find answers to some questions left unspoken. For a moment, worries receded into background noise. Music became our only concern. The scent of sandalwood wafts through the air, carried on a gentle breeze that rustles the silk curtains framing the courtyard. You stand near the open window, feeling the warm evening sun seep into your skin as you gaze out at the tranquil scene below. Outside, the streets are quieting down for the night, the sounds of merchants hawking their wares and travelers rushing to reach their destinations gradually fading away. In this peaceful atmosphere, the soft chirping of crickets provides a soothing background hum, lulling all who listen into a state of relaxation. You've spent most of your day helping with preparations at the Imperial Palace. Now you're taking a moment to breathe in the calmness that pervades the city as night begins. The air is filled with the scent of incense sticks and sandalwood, carried on the gentle breeze from the nearby temple grounds. As you stand there sipping your tea and watching the world slow down around you, memories begin to surface of long days spent in the palace's sprawling corridors, tending to various affairs for the royal family. Your mind wanders back to one specific individual, Dr. Wang, the former imperial physician who once called these halls home. You remember how his eyes would light up when explaining complex medical theories or demonstrating new techniques on a willing volunteer from the court staff. His passion was contagious. He had a gift for making even the most intricate concepts seem clear and straightforward. Many considered him one of the greatest physicians in all of Tang Dynasty China, renowned for his work with herbal remedies and surgical procedures. It's been years since Dr. Wang last walked these palace corridors as an active member of the royal medical team. His talents were undeniable, yet controversy surrounding some of his more unconventional approaches eventually led to his dismissal from official duty within the palace walls. It was a bittersweet moment for him. On one hand, he no longer had to deal with bureaucratic headaches and petty office politics. On the other, it meant giving up access to patients who needed his particular expertise. You recall how he used to complain about being treated like a mere alchemist by some of the palace administrators. They didn't understand that true healing was not just a matter of mixing potions or performing surgery, but also required an empathetic ear and a deep understanding of human nature. For him, medicine had always been as much art as it was science. As you continue sipping your tea and letting memories wash over you, the sound of distant drums carries through the air, probably someone's attempt to summon the city watch for patrol duty tonight. The beat grows fainter in intensity but not in frequency, occasionally interrupted by a stray dog howling out its evening song or a late-night vendor calling out his wares. In your reverie, you notice the shadows cast on the courtyard walls growing longer as night deepens. Crickets chirp their lullabies louder now, while fireflies dance in the periphery of your vision like tiny lanterns swaying gently to some unheard rhythm. You feel a sense of peace settle over you, a quiet acceptance that even though life may never truly be perfect, it's still beautiful just as it is. You take another sip from your cup, letting its warmth spread through your hands and into the rest of your body. The sandalwood scent lingers on the surface of your skin, reminding you of Dr. Wang's words, "The best healers are not those with the most knowledge, but rather those who can listen to a patient's heart and understand their deepest fears." For him, medicine was never just about curing ailments. It was also about understanding people as whole beings, each person carrying within them stories yet untold and wounds that beg to be soothed. You recall how Dr. Wang would often speak of the importance of empathy in healing. A patient's heart is not something you diagnose or treat with medicine alone, he'd say, his eyes twinkling like stars on a clear night sky. As memories continue swirling around your head, the sound from outside grows softer. The distant drums fade into silence as vendors begin to pack up their wares for the evening, and the city lulls itself deeper into slumber. The air cools slightly now that night's chill begins to seep in. You notice a faint mist rising off the courtyard stones. Your eyes linger on the walls of the palace, watching shadows grow more pronounced as moonlight casts its silvery glow across the empty halls within. It seems an eternity has passed since Dr. Wang walked those corridors with such purpose and dedication, his time here now relegated to memory alone. The scent of incense wafted through the air, carried on a gentle breeze that rustled the folds of your bedroll. You lay there wrapped in its softness, feeling the weight of exhaustion sinking into your bones. It had been a long day, filled with the hum of markets and the chatter of merchants haggling over prices. As you breathed in deeply, the fragrance seemed to settle around you like a warm blanket. Your eyelids grew heavy, and you let out a soft sigh as the weariness seeped into your muscles. The music from earlier still lingered on the edges of your consciousness, a distant memory now, rather than something actively occupying your thoughts. Your hand drifted lazily to the wooden pillow beneath your head, feeling its slight give when you pressed against it. It was made from a type of wood native to these mountains, said to be both durable and relatively lightweight. Your companion, an elderly merchant named Wei, had gifted it to you during one of his infrequent visits. As you settled further into the pillow's gentle cradle, your thoughts began to untangle themselves. Memories started to resurface, snippets from conversations overheard in crowded taverns, rumors about trade routes in distant lands. The tang of wine lingers on someone's breath is a peculiar thing. It leaves an indelible mark, like a faint bruise that refuses to fade. The room around you had grown quiet sometime during the night, as people retired to their own beds or found places to rest in doorways. You'd long since given up trying to discern who was asleep and who was simply lying still, waiting for an opportunity to strike up another conversation or begin a new negotiation. A faint scent of vinegar carried on someone's breath drifted into your nostrils as they stirred nearby. The smell clung to the surface of their tongue like a stubborn stain, a reminder that even in moments of repose, there was always something else waiting just beneath the surface. A need for food or drink, perhaps, or simply another passing thought. The wooden pillow creaked softly as you shifted your weight against it. Your fingers absently worked the wood's grain, tracing patterns with their fingertips like someone sketching on parchment with a worn stylus. Wei had said this was good quality, something he'd found during one of his many journeys to distant regions. Outside, a stray cat wandered into view, pausing in its circuit around the compound as it sensed your presence. Its eyes glinted in the firelight like tiny polished stones set amidst an otherwise rough tapestry. For a moment, you watched as it padded silently across the courtyard, the only sound being the soft thud of a paw on stone. The cat's gaze flickered towards you before moving again, a brief meeting of eyes, then nothing more than another part of its wandering circuit. Your attention strayed to other thoughts, leaving behind both Wei and his gift like so many forgotten threads in a discarded piece of cloth. A faint breeze rustled the fabric on your bedroll once more, this time carrying with it something metallic, the scent of iron from an unseen surface somewhere within the compound's confines. The tang was unmistakable, just as you'd associate vinegar with someone who drinks too much. So did this smell evoke images of a blacksmith at work. Your gaze drifted towards the shadows where the sound seemed to originate, the darkness beyond the flickering flames, like an unfathomably deep pool into which anything might disappear without leaving a ripple. Shadows within shadows, it was disorienting, and your mind wandered back to the wooden pillow beneath your head as if seeking refuge in its familiar contours. The room had grown darker now. Only embers remained of what once were warm flames dancing across the hearthstone. Their dying breath cast eerie silhouettes on walls and bedrolls alike, ghostly shapes that seemed at odds with the faint light creeping through shutters from outside, painting a subtle pattern on floorboards. Your hand absently drifted down to your waist, feeling for the familiar weight of your belt pouch. It hung there like an old friend, reassuring you in the darkness as much as anything else around you could, except perhaps Wei's wooden pillow, which now seemed more a part of this place than any other reminder of home. You let out another sigh, letting go with it all the worries that had accumulated over the course of your day. Outside, night deepened. Sounds from distant streets grew fainter as if trying to find their way into some quieter realm beyond city walls, or perhaps simply retreating before dawn broke again. For a moment longer, you lay there in stillness, surrounded by shadows and firelit silhouettes that seemed almost living. Your thoughts trailed off into the darkness like wisps of cloud on an autumn breeze. Nothing remained to anchor your attention except the creaking wooden pillow beneath your head and Wei's gift, both reassuring, though perhaps for different reasons. The air around you seemed heavier now than it had when first drifting through shutters or carried by a stray cat. Something was brewing outside those city walls, whispers of movement on distant horizons like a far-off storm cloud gathering strength. Your sleep-addled brain picked up the faintest hint, something that hinted at change, perhaps, yet couldn't quite grasp it. Your breathing slowed further. Your thoughts grew disjointed as you struggled to anchor onto any one point within this vast landscape of sounds and smells. The wooden pillow beneath your head seemed like a haven in itself now, both solid ground amidst turmoil outside these walls, and the only tangible connection left from days past when history moved on without regard for personal anchors. In the darkness, shadows cast around you grew longer as embers died. It was then that something truly strange occurred. Memories of yesternight's markets came flooding back in vivid detail, every single one a scene etched into your mind with an intensity rivaling firelit silhouettes on walls. They were there now, suspended like suspended flames awaiting rebirth at dawn. The wooden pillow beneath you seemed to sag just a little more than it had before. Its surface creaked softly, as if settling further into the stillness surrounding both you and Wei's gift. Your fingers absently worked the grain once again, tracing patterns that told of distant regions, woodcutters' sweat-drenched brows and ancient craftsmanship. Memories came with a strange clarity now, people hurrying to complete transactions before nightfall, faces obscured in hoods or veils while voices emerged from dark recesses to be heard above market din. It was then you sensed the weight on your belt pouch had shifted slightly, just enough for it to seem noticeable, though perhaps not significant. The darkness seemed darker now than when first settling into bedrolls and shadows. Only an occasional faint rustle signaled life outside these city walls as morning's approach brought whispers of another day. As the darkness deepened, a faint stirring began to emanate from within the city walls. The rustling sounds grew louder, and the air was filled with the murmur of hushed conversations. It seemed as though the very fabric of the night itself had come alive, weaving together disparate threads into a rich tapestry of sound. In one small alleyway, a young merchant named Lin carefully wrapped his family's last few ounces of silver in a worn leather pouch. His mother had given him explicit instructions to keep it safe, hidden from prying eyes and grasping hands. The weight of responsibility settled heavily on his shoulders as he tucked the pouch into his belt, feeling its reassuring presence. Outside, the morning air was crisp and cool, carrying with it whispers of a new day's possibilities. Lin slipped out of their cramped quarters, joining the swelling throngs that moved through the city like a slow-moving tide. Merchants called out to one another in hasty tones, while travelers hastened past, bound for destinations unknown. Lin navigated these narrow streets with practiced ease, his eyes scanning the crowds as he made his way towards the central marketplace. As a merchant's son, he was accustomed to avoiding trouble and finding opportunities amidst chaos. His father had taught him well. In times of scarcity, one must adapt quickly, lest the winds of change leave you floundering. At the market square, Lin joined an anxious throng gathered around a lone money changer. The wizened old man hunched over his stall, carefully counting coins into neat piles, as he calculated exchange rates with lightning speed and accuracy. His eyes darted back and forth between customers, weighing each transaction like a seasoned farmer assessing crop yields. Paper notes, the money changer asked, raising an eyebrow at Lin's hesitant response. He nodded warily, unwilling to reveal too much about his family's meager savings. As it turned out, they were among the fortunate few who still clung to paper money, valuable commodities in this era of rising inflation and dwindling metal reserves. The money changer scribbled a hasty note on a parchment scrap before thrusting it at Lin with an air of brisk efficiency. 3 strings for 5 ounces, he declared, referring to a long-forgotten exchange rate that now seemed laughable given the present state of affairs. Lin hesitated, weighing his options as merchants and traders alike scurried past, seeking better deals elsewhere. But time was short, with rumors circulating about paper money losing its value faster than a spring breeze dispersing wisps of straw. He knew he had to act swiftly if they were to avoid disaster. He handed over the pouch containing their last remaining silver, exchanging it for an uncertain future. As he tucked the scribbled note into his belt alongside the precious coins, Lin felt a cold dread creeping up his spine like frost on winter's first night. What would become of them now? Their family had always lived within a delicate balance of expenses and earnings, but with paper money crumbling beneath their feet, it seemed as though they were standing atop a precarious precipice. One misstep could send everything crashing down around them, leaving behind only the faintest whispers of what once was. The city's streets continued to pulse with life, an ever-changing kaleidoscope of sounds and colors that seemed almost mesmerizing in its complexity. Yet amidst this vibrant tapestry, Lin sensed a growing unease, as if the very fabric of their reality had begun to unravel at the seams. As morning light seeped into the city's crevices like water through parched earth, he quickened his pace, hurrying towards home before it was too late. The thought of facing his mother and father with this news sent a shiver coursing down his spine. What would they say when he revealed their last remaining silver had bought them only more paper promises? The scent of incense wafts through the air, carried on the gentle breeze that stirs the silk curtains hanging from the wooden beams above. The fragrance is familiar and comforting, a reminder of the countless times it has been burned to ward off evil spirits in this very same room. You lie down, feeling the softness of the futon beneath you as you settle into its curves. Your mother's hands guide yours to your temples, where she gently presses her thumbs against the tender skin. The pressure is soothing, and you let out a slow breath as the tension in your shoulders begins to ease. The air is thick with the smell of incense, but also with something else, the sweet scent of cooked rice and vegetables carried from the kitchen by your father's wife, Xiang. She has been cooking all day, preparing dinner for the family. The aroma makes your stomach growl with hunger, reminding you that it's almost time to eat. You glance around the room, taking in the familiar sights. The wooden shelves are adorned with vases filled with fresh flowers, chrysanthemums and peonies, carefully arranged by Xiang to bring good fortune and prosperity into the home. Above them, a series of intricately painted silk panels hang from the ceiling, depicting scenes from ancient myths and legends. Your father sits in his favorite armchair, his eyes fixed on some invisible point outside as he strokes his long white beard with a thoughtful expression. Your mother stands beside him, her hands still pressed against your temples as she watches over you with concern etched across her face. As the warmth of the incense and the gentle pressure from your mother's fingers begin to lull you into relaxation, you start to feel the weight of fatigue settle in once more. The day has been long, a series of meetings at the silk market, followed by hours spent haggling with merchants over prices for high-quality fabrics. The thought of facing his mother and father with this news sent a shiver coursing down his spine. What would they say when he revealed their last remaining silver had bought them only more paper promises? The memory of it still makes your face burn, but now as you lie here surrounded by the peaceful atmosphere of home, the weight begins to lift. Your mother's touch grows lighter, her thumbs releasing their gentle pressure on your temples. She leans in close, whispering softly into your ear, "Eat well tonight, my child. Xiang has prepared a special dish for us." The sound of her voice is like a soothing melody, washing away the lingering doubts and worries that had plagued you throughout the day. As she pulls back to let out a slow breath, the faint scent of tea wafts into the room from outside. Your father's wife comes in with a steaming teapot, followed closely by the aroma of freshly cooked food, vegetables stir-fried in oil with sliced scallions and fermented bean paste for added flavor. Your stomach growls louder now as you imagine taking your first bite of the meal Xiang has prepared. The smell is enticing like nothing else can be. But there's something else too, a faint whiff of dampness carried on the air from outside. The rain has started again, drumming against the roof above with an insistent rhythm that threatens to lull you into sleep. Your mother leans in once more, her hands now wrapped around your shoulders as she guides you up onto one elbow. "Eat well," she whispers softly, before letting go and helping you sit up on the futon where she's laid out a simple meal, steaming rice with vegetables cooked in oil and soy sauce. The wooden bowl is small but full of flavor, its contents filling your senses as you take that first bite. The combination of textures and tastes washes over you like a warm wave, soothing away all worries about the day ahead. For now, it's just this moment sitting on the futon in the quiet evening stillness, feeling safe under the gentle guidance of those around you. As you eat slowly, savoring each morsel, Xiang moves quietly to pour tea into delicate cups for your father and mother. The silence is almost palpable as they sip their tea, watching over you with expressions both calm and concerned, a mixture that speaks volumes about the weight of responsibility on their shoulders. Your father's eyes hold yours across the room, his gaze asking silently what happened today at the market. He doesn't need to ask, it's written all over your face. But for now, in this quiet moment as you sit together eating and drinking tea by the window, with rain falling softly outside, there is no more than this. Time stretches out like a warm blanket wrapped around your shoulders, holding off any thoughts of tomorrow or yesterday until they can be faced again another day. Your stomach feels full for now. It's only when hunger pangs return that you'll think about food and time and schedules once more. The rain continues outside, its steady beat an accompaniment to the meal being eaten within these walls, a simple dinner with loved ones in peaceful silence. It is this moment above all others where worries fade like mist at dawn, leaving only what truly matters. Love, family, warmth, things that cannot be lost even as the world changes beyond your window pane. Xiang moves over to help clear away the meal, her gentle hands lifting the empty wooden bowl from in front of you. Your mother's fingers brush against yours once more before she lets go too. Together, they carry out the remnants of dinner into another room for washing and disposal, all part of maintaining order within their quiet home. Your father remains seated by the window, watching as his wife disappears with the meal leftovers behind her, leaving him to sit alone in thought. His gaze wanders toward you where you now lie back on your futon once more, eyes closed in a slow drift into sleep. Tonight you've traveled through the mist-shrouded dawn of a merchant's daybreak, where socks stitched with intricate care became a year-long ritual in the making, into the shadowed recesses of the Imperial palace, where an emperor's favorite dish concealed its true nature like a serpent in plain sight, across the tides of time that carried forgotten hymns from distant mountains to dusty shelves, through the ruins of Luoyang, where flames had once raged and left only ashes behind. Down into the heart of ancient earthquakes, where secrets lay hidden within earthen jars, and along the narrow alleys of a city still awakening, where incense wafted on summer breezes carrying whispers from generations past. What connects these disparate threads is the quiet strength that runs through it all, the resilience of memory, which weaves together fragments of history into an intricate tapestry. Despite the turmoil and upheaval, life persisted in its countless forms. A merchant's daily routine, the imperial court's calculated intrigue, the people who built and rebuilt their cities. If you'd like to keep exploring, you can gently tap like and subscribe so you don't miss the next journey. And if you feel awake enough, leave a comment and share where in the world you're listening from, perhaps on some quiet night like this one, far from the bustle of city streets. As the last embers of attention fade away, let your thoughts sink beneath the surface of consciousness like ripples on a still pond. The details that have lingered will slowly surrender to the darkness, carried off by the quiet tides of time. Let go and sleep, for in slumber lies the long patience of the earth, where seasons unfold without haste or urgency. And as you rest, remember, memory is not a repository of facts, but an ember that glows with the warmth of what's past, illuminating paths yet to be walked.